Chapter 772. Even worse than Shu. Oh, I was wondering why Shield Bro said that you were going to change cars soon. So you've already planned it. You're even worse than Shu. Yushu giggled. Ha, not as bad as you. Linny smiled. Of course, but Shu likes bad guys. Yushu felt that Linny was her type. They could be a prankster duo. Linny, you destroyed Zhao Qibing's skyscraper again. Will there be any problems? Tang Yun frowned. She felt that Yushu's words were too obvious. Even if she liked Linny, she couldn't say it in front of her, could she? Did I do it? They blew up their skyscraper with their own bomb, and I even took a ride there. They have to pay for the damage, Linny said with heartache. That was my first car. It's very sentimental. Did we pledge our love in that car? What are you talking about? Tang Yun was embarrassed. Lin Yi's words reminded her of that night. She was drugged by Zhou Roming. That was the first time Linny touched her body in Lin Yi's car. It was also at that time that she confirmed her feelings for him. Did she want to be with him? It seemed like it. Tang Yun didn't know what was going on in her heart. It was as if she liked Lin Yi all of a sudden. Miss acted as if she didn't hear what Lin Yi and Tang Yun said. She was still calm as if it had nothing to do with her. She waited until Lin Yi and Tang Yun finished talking. Lin Yi, how do we go back now? I've already called Faubert. He should be on the way, Lin Yi said. When you pass the bank on the way back, can you help Auntie One cash the check? She hasn't done this before? All right. The eldest miss nodded. It was impossible to tell what she was thinking. Faubert's car wasn't small, but it could only seat 5 people. With Lin Yi, there would be one more person. Lin Yi decided to walk. He asked Faubert to send Meng Yao, Yushu, and Tang Yun to school first. Meng Yao also thought about the number of people. How are you going back? I'll go ask Ling Shan if there's anything I need to do to get her car destroyed, Lin Yi said. Faubert's Bentley drove over. Lin Yi let Mrs. Tang sit in the front passenger seat while Meng Yao, Yushu, and Tang Yun sat in the back. It was the first time in her life that Mrs. Tang sat in such a good car. She looked at the shiny paint of the car and was excited. This was a car that could only be seen on TV. One day, she could actually sit in one? Tang Yun, on the other hand, was a little embarrassed. She was a little embarrassed to ride with Meng Yao without Lin Yi. But when she remembered that Meng Yao also rode in Lin Yi's car, she let out a sigh of relief. The driver, Uncle Fu, on the other hand, didn't look down on the mother and daughter at all. Instead, he maintained his respectful demeanor. In fact, even if Lin Yi wasn't a mystic class master, Faubert would still be respectful towards Lin Yi and the people around him. This was because of Chu Pingzhan, and also because Lin Yi saved Meng Yao several times. Just these 2 points alone made Faubert respectful towards Lin Yi and the people around him. Moreover, just yesterday, Faubert found out that Lin Yi was a mystic class master, and could even create a golden class dog. He was shocked to the point that he couldn't believe it. Now, his admiration towards Lin Yi came from the bottom of his heart. It was worship towards a strong master. This was also the reason why Lin Yi let Tang Yun and her mother ride in Faubert's car. At least Faubert wouldn't be rude to her. Miss and Shu, both of them were kind-hearted. They wouldn't use the method of showing off their wealth to deal with Tang Yun. That was what Miss disdained. In fact, when Meng Yao and Tang Yun were fighting, they never mentioned family background or money. Their method of fighting was just who was prettier and who could have threesomes. This made Lin Yi feel funny, but it also made him understand Miss's character on a deeper level. Miss wouldn't treat people differently based on money. As for the first time when she met Lin Yi, her hostility towards Lin Yi probably came from her vigilance and rejection towards strangers. Miss didn't have many friends in her life. How could she accept a man living in the same villa as her? Thinking back to Miss's mockery, wasn't it a reflection of her loneliness? Lin Yi realized that the more time he spent with Miss, the more he felt that she was a very, very cute girl. Watching Faubert's Bentley leave, Lin Yi walked towards the direction of the school. As he walked, he started thinking if he should buy a 7-seater touring car. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to fit so many people when he went out. If he were to drive Tang Yun, Kang Xiaobo, Fen, and Xinwen, a normal car would be enough, but if Meng Yao and Yushu wanted to join in the fun, then it wouldn't be able to fit. As for Lin Yi saying that he wanted to ask Ling Shan how to operate the damaged car, it was just an excuse. Lin Yi didn't want to put Meng Yao and the others in a difficult position, so he said that and didn't get in the car with them. Xiaoke had gained quite a lot these 2 days. Yesterday, she killed a big fat sheep and successfully escaped from Ling Shan, making her feel very happy. Xiaoke felt like a mouse playing with a cat. Today, her luck was pretty good. Not long after Xiaoke left, she saw a thief who had just stolen someone's wallet and was looking for a place to count the money. Xiaoke rolled her eyes and followed quietly. Although she stole money, she had a strong sense of principle. She only stole from the rich, corrupt officials, and evil people. She also stole from the people in the same trade as her. The so-called peers were naturally thieves as well. Xiaoke would occasionally do some dirty things. Naturally, the members of this organization were Xiaoke's targets. Xiaoke followed the thief carefully and looked at the wallet in his pocket with envy. That was a lot of money, more than 10,000. She didn't know where this guy stole it from. Just the quality of the wallet alone was good. He must be rich. Maybe there were some shopping cards in the wallet. That would be even more profitable. Chapter 773. Use Xiaoke's troubles. If she had a shopping card, she could buy a lot of good food for the children in the orphanage. Yu Xiaoke's mouth twitched, very envious. She followed the thief unhurriedly and arrived at a rather remote street. But after a while, Yu Xiaoke felt that something wasn't right. Why didn't the thief take the time to take out the money and throw it away after stealing the wallet? Normally, thieves wouldn't keep someone else's wallet on them for a long time. They would take out the valuables immediately and throw it away no matter how expensive the wallet was. Otherwise, if someone found out, they'd be caught red-handed. It was reasonable for the thief to be careful on the main street. But now that they were in a secluded street, it didn't make sense that the thief wouldn't take out the wallet to check. Yu Xiaoke was a cautious person, and she believed in one thing: there must be something fishy going on. The moment she felt that something was wrong, her first thought was to give up. She wanted to turn and leave, but she suddenly realized that there were 4 bulky men in the alley behind her. Yu Xiaoke's heart skipped a beat, and she immediately understood that these people were coming for her. Otherwise, how could there be such a coincidence? The thief who had been walking in front turned around as well, and the 5 of them surrounded Xiaoke in a circle against the high wall. Yu Xiaoke, do you still recognize me? One of the 4 bulky men, the one with earrings, was obviously the leader. He stared at Yu Xiaoke, revealing a mouthful of yellow teeth. His eyes shone with a sinister light. You! Who are you? Did you get the wrong person? Yu Xiaoke laughed and looked around, trying to find a chance to escape. But the wall behind her was simply too high, and she couldn't run even if she wanted to. In front of her, there were 5 bulky men surrounding her, and it was impossible to escape. Yu Xiaoke's qigong wasn't bad, but it didn't mean that she could beat these 5 bulky men. Yu Xiaoke did have some kung fu, but it wasn't enough to fight 1 against 5. Xiaoke, did you really forget about me? Piercing's face showed a trace of hatred. He pointed to his crotch and said, F***ck you little bitch. You kicked one of my balls. Don't tell me you forgot? Ugh. Xiaoke blinked her eyes and suddenly remembered who the person in front of her was. She couldn't help but laugh dryly. So it's Blackbird bro. Ha, hello, long time no see. Haven't we not seen each other for a long time? We haven't seen each other for half a year. I was lying in the hospital for half a year. The man with piercings, Blackbird, glared at him. I just stole money from a beggar. How dare you kick my balls? Aren't you AF** king thief too? What justice and morality are you talking to me about? Let me tell you, your father has been looking for you for more than half a year. Ugh. Why are you looking for me? We don't know each other very well, right? Xiaoke was really scared. She was no match for these 5 men. What are you doing? You shitty fiend gate, how much money do you have to steal from my men? How are you going to pay for this? Blackbird laughed coldly. Shioka, let me tell you. Don't even think about running away now that you are in my hands. I specifically chose this location for you. It wasn't easy to lure you in. Indeed, no matter how good Xiaoka's qigong was, she couldn't escape in this situation. No matter how good her qigong was, she couldn't jump over a high wall. Ugh, it's not that much, only tens of thousands. I can return it to you. Xiaoka could only show her weakness. Tens of thousands? Who are you kidding? You stole at least 100 to 200,000 from us. Blackbird sneered. Let's not pay for this for now. What about my balls? I, Blackbird, am a famous figure in the underworld. Now that a woman has kicked one of my balls, where is my face? Ugh. Then what do you want? Xiaoka asked nervously. She wanted to say that she didn't do it on purpose. Who told Blackbird to steal money from a begging girl and touch her breasts? Xiaoka was infuriated and kicked one of Blackbird's balls. How could Blackbird, who was alone, be Xiaoka's opponent? Plus, Xiaoka's sudden attack injured him. Xiaoka's qigong was good, so she ran away after hitting him. Blackbird didn't even have the chance to call for help. What do you think? I, Brother Blackbird, swore that I would *CK you. Blackbird looked at Yushika with a lustful gaze. I'll give you two choices. One is to obediently become my woman after I *CK you. Then, we'll be a family and we'll forget about what happened in the past. Ugh. What else? What's the other choice? Xiaoka was speechless. Become Blackbird's woman? She might as well kill herself. There's another choice, but I advise you not to choose it. Blackbird laughed. There's another choice. After you *CK me, you can *CK my brothers together. After that, we will be even. Blackbird was only a thief and didn't dare to kill anyone. That was why he gave these two choices. Ugh. I don't think that's a good idea. Xiaoka rolled her eyes. Ugh. Actually, I already have a boyfriend, so I can't agree to your choice, boyfriend? Who are you kidding? I heard that you're a virgin? Blackbird licked his lips. I haven't been with a virgin before, hee hee. Ugh. Actually, that's a rumor. I already have a boyfriend. I lost my virginity a long time ago. I'm already a broken flower, so I'm not fun. Xiaoka was anxious. Why was there no one in this alley? Why were there only a few people after so long? She didn't even have a chance to ask for help. Oh, if that's the case, then you can only choose the second choice. We're just having fun, so we don't care if you're a broken flower or not. Isn't that right, brothers? Blackbird asked the others with a perverted smile. We don't care, ha ha ha! The men laughed. Chapter 774. Dear, save me. Ha 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 ha! Blackbird and the other muscular men started laughing. They were laughing so hard that it was as if they had heard the funniest joke in the world. Even the police can't kill our entire gang. Can your boyfriend do it? Is he Superman? Or Ultraman? One of Blackbird's men mocked. Ha, does this girl think her boyfriend is the main character of a fantasy novel? Is your boyfriend called Lulei or Yang Ming? Another man who liked to read web novels asked in a mocking tone. These characters were all the main characters of a novel called Very Pure, Very Ambiguous Prequel. Yu Xiaoka was nervous, but she couldn't show her guilt in front of Blackbird and the others. She laughed dryly. My boyfriend. Isn't he here? Suddenly, Xiaoka cried out excitedly. He's right behind you. Darling, come and save me. Save me. Save me. Keep pretending. Are you trying to distract us so that you can escape? Do you think we'll believe you? Blackbird laughed coldly. He didn't believe what Yushioka said. From his point of view, Yushioka had no choice but to make up a boyfriend to confuse them, and use this chance to escape. It's true! Yushioka continued to shout. Save me, honey! Here! I'm here! I'm your Yushika. Linny didn't drive, so he wouldn't take the main road. He followed the direction of the school and found a shortcut. Of course, Linny wasn't worried about going the wrong way. As long as the sun was pointing in the right direction, Linny wouldn't get lost. This was the most basic rule of survival in the jungle. Only by identifying the direction quickly would one be able to survive. Although Linny was passing through a deserted alley, Lin-Yi knew that he was going in the right direction, so he wasn't worried. After walking for a short while, he saw 5 burly men besieging a young girl not far away. Lin-Yi was the type of person who wouldn't stick his nose into things that didn't concern him. Unless he knew the person involved, Lin-Yi wouldn't stick his nose into other people's business. However, the girl's voice sounded somewhat familiar. Moreover, the girl's cry for help also made Lin-Yi stunned. Was there anyone else in this alley other than him? Lin-Yi was shocked. Why didn't he sense anyone approaching from the alley? Could it be that this little girl's husband was a peerless expert that even he couldn't find traces of? But Lin-Yi's guess was wrong, because when Yoshioka said darling, it was directed at Lin-Yi, and other than Lin-Yi, there was no one else. You called me? Lin-Yi pointed at himself. He was somewhat inexplicable. Although Lin-Yi had already recognized who this little girl in front of him was, he had only met her once. She was definitely not his darling. Lin-Yi's voice stunned Brother Blackbird and the other men. They thought that Yu Xiao was calling out randomly, but there was no one there. However, Lin-Yi's voice had changed their minds. Keep an eye on this little girl. Don't let her escape. After Brother Blackbird ordered the 4 men, he turned around and looked at Lin-Yi. With one glance, his nervous heart immediately calmed down. From his point of view, Lin-Yi was a gigolo. How could such a small and skinny body be his opponent? Even if Lin-Yi was really Yoshika's boyfriend, he was probably only slightly skilled in Qigong. How could he be a match for the 5 of them? Therefore, after one glance, Brother Blackbird didn't put Lin-Yi in his eyes at all. Yeah, darling, come and save me. These people want to play with your wife. Yoshioka waved her hand at Lin-Yi. Huh? Lin-Yi widened his eyes. These people want to play with my wife? Play with Tang Yun? But he understood what was going on. Xiaoka must have been surrounded by these people, and in a moment of desperation, she wanted him to help, but was afraid that he wouldn't help, so she used his identity first to shift the blame to him. It seemed that this female cat burglar wasn't stupid. Lin-Yi's impression of Yoshioka wasn't good, but it wasn't bad either. At least, Yoshioka was pretty and moving. This was what made Lin-Yi happy. Therefore, when Yoshioka was in trouble, Lin-Yi didn't have a choice whether to help or not. It was entirely up to Lin-Yi's mood. You are Yoshioka's man? Brother Blackbird looked at Lin-Yi from head to toe with his bird eyes. He didn't seem to care about Lin-Yi at all. Lin-Yi ignored Brother Blackbird and walked towards Yoshioka. He frowned as he walked. Didn't I tell you to go home and practice for a few years before coming out? How is it? Did you get caught for stealing? Lin-Yi thought that Yoshioka was surrounded because she stole Brother Blackbird's things. In fact, Lin-Yi's guess was both right and wrong. Yoshioka did steal a lot of money from these thief groups, but she was just stealing from them. Although Brother Blackbird hated Yoshioka, if that was the case, he would have just caught her and extorted some money from her. He wouldn't want to have sex with Yoshioka. The current situation was that one of Blackbird's eggs was broken by Yoshioka's kick, and he had the thought of keeping Yoshioka as his exclusive property. From his perspective, if he didn't ck Yoshioka, how could he face his broken egg? I'm talking to you. Didn't you hear me? Did I allow you to come over? Brother Blackbird wanted to stop Lin-Yi, but he failed. In the blink of an eye, Lin-Yi was already beside Yoshioka. No! They are thieves. Chase them away from me! Yoshioka whispered to Lin-Yi. Thieves? Aren't you a thief too? Lin-Yi asked back. It's not the same. I'm a good thief, and they are bad thieves. Yoshioka was about to cry. I beg you, help me this once, okay? Or else I'll be raped. There are good and bad thieves? Lin-Yi was amused. Yoshioka's explanation was quite amusing. Plus, what does your rape have to do with me? Of course there are good and bad thieves. I'm a good thief, and they are just doing it for their own selfish desires. I'm different from them. Yushioka explained. Look, I stole so much money, but I'm only wearing cheap clothes that cost 20 yuan. Oh, you're a little stingy. You stole money and you're still wearing clothes that cost 20 yuan? Linny glanced at Yushioka's clothes. It was indeed tattered. It was even more tattered than Tang Yun's clothes. She wasn't lying. Chapter 775. Spent it all. Did you steal a lot of money from them? Linny looked at Blackbird and his underlings. They didn't look like good people. In comparison, Linny was more inclined towards Yushioka. Not a lot, only 100,000 or so, Yushioka said carefully. Damn! Linny was shocked. 100,000 is not a lot. No wonder they want to play with you. Can't you just return the money to them? I can't return it. How can I return it all? Yushioka said with a sad face. 100,000? You spent it all? Why are you wearing such shabby clothes? Linny found it hard to believe. I didn't spend it. I gave it to someone else, Yushioka said. Can't you help me? I know you're good. Gave it to someone else? You stole money and gave it to someone else? Are you crazy? Linny wanted to help Yushioka, but after hearing her words he felt that it was better to stay away from her. You're the one who's crazy! I need to feed the entire orphanage. There are hundreds of people in it. How long can 100,000 be enough? Yushioka glared at Linny. Linny was startled. He didn't expect Yushioka to steal money to feed her family. But one person feeding 100 people? That sounded a little ridiculous. However, the word orphanage made Lin Yi's heart move. Lin Yi hadn't seen his parents since he was young. He was basically an orphan. If it wasn't for his master and the old man, Lin Yi might have grown up in an orphanage. So, Lin Yi decided to believe Yushioka for once. How much do you owe me? I'll pay it for you first. It's not as simple as just owing money. I also kicked Blackbird Bro's balls. Shioka blushed as she said softly. Huh! Lin Yi's eyes widened. No way. So violent? Did he just kick someone's balls? No wonder he wanted to play with you. No matter who it was, they would feel unbalanced. Lin Yi thought to himself, even if I'm a genius doctor, I can't give him a new one after kicking him for so long. Then let him play. I can't do anything. How can I do that? Xiaoka's eyes widened. I'm still a virgin, okay? I heard that virginity is worth a lot of money. I was thinking that one day, when the children in the orphanage don't have enough to eat, I would sell my virginity. Pfft. Lin Yi almost choked to death after hearing Xiaoka's words. Xiaoka's idea was quite shocking. But if that was what Xiaoka was thinking, then he respected her quite a bit. Could a girl really make such a big sacrifice for a group of orphans? Lin Yi looked at Xiaoka's eyes. She didn't look like she was lying. That was why Lin Yi believed Xiaoka for now. Okay. Can you help me first? I, Yu Xiaoka, am a famous heroine in Jianghu, and everyone knows that I'm loyal. If you're in trouble in the future, I won't hesitate to help you. Yu Xiaoka saw that Lin Yi had the intention to help her, and quickly continued. Alright, I'll help you. Heroine? Female cat burglar? Lin Yi shrugged. I don't think I'm in trouble. What the hell? You two are whispering to each other. Do you think I don't exist? Blackbird was about to explode from anger. How did a pretty boy appear out of nowhere and become Yu Xiaoka's husband? But I don't care if you are Yu Xiaoka's husband or not. Since you're here, don't even think about leaving. Songshan's thief organization and Fian sect had been enemies for a long time. Since Lin Yi was Yu Xiaoka's husband, he must be a member of Fian sect. Since they met today, they would fight together. I didn't pretend that you don't exist. But it doesn't matter to me whether you exist or not. Lin Yi looked at Blackbird and said, What's your name? Good. Gigolo, you're very arrogant. Blackbird laughed coldly. But I don't know if you can still be so arrogant later. Have you heard of me, Blackbird? Linny smiled coldly. But I don't know if you can still be so arrogant later. Blackbird was the second in command of the Songhorn Thief organization. Naturally, he was a well-known figure. Anyone in this line of work would know his name. Even the rogue thieves had to pay a visit to Brother Blackbird before they could commit crimes in Songhorn. No. Linny shook his head honestly. But Blackbird bro, right? Since you and she are both thieves, we're in the same industry. Let's just forget about this. Don't look for trouble. A thief is a thief. Don't cross the line and do some hooligan things. What the hell? Who do you think you are? How dare you lecture me? Blackbird was furious. He pointed at Linny and said to his 4 subordinates, "Beat this kid until he's disabled. Then, we'll play with you, Shioka." Hee, okay, Blackbird bro. The 4 men surrounded Linny. Yushioka was nervous. When she saw Linny, she wanted him to save her. It was out of instinct. In this empty alley, Linny was her only hope. But now that Linny was here, Yushioka was worried. Linny was alone, and there were 5 men. Could Linny deal with them? Linny didn't look strong. Yushioka believed that Linny could deal with one of them. She could fight one of them alone. That was why she dared to follow the thief to this empty alley. Yushioka thought that she could deal with it even if it was a robbery. But who would have thought that the situation would take a turn for the worse, and she was surrounded by 5 people. Shioka could only rely on Linny in a moment of desperation. Can you do it? Yushioka asked worriedly. I can't. Why don't you do it? Linny smiled and asked. Then you do it. Good luck. Yushioka saw that Linny wasn't nervous at all. She was relieved. It seemed that Linny was confident. Otherwise, he would be thinking of running away. Brat, be sensible and let your brother play with your wife, then you can leave. One of the men looked down on Linny. He felt that Linny couldn't even take one punch from him. That's right. Look at your gentle face. You can be a thief, but you can't fight, right? Don't ruin your face. It'll be inconvenient for you to commit crimes in the future. Another man mocked. Chapter 776. Protective Armor Art. F***CK. This kid is still so stubborn even in the face of death. Beat him until his mother can't recognize him. The burly man who had demanded that Linny give up his wife looked as if he had been greatly insulted. He glared and swung his fist at Linny. Bam! The burly man's fist landed on Linny's body. This punch was very solid. The burly man was very pleased with himself. This kid was really an idiot. He didn't even know how to dodge. Even he didn't expect that his punch would land. Wasn't he too lucky? The burly man imagined the scene of Linny flying backwards. He was very pleased. However, in the next moment, he felt that something was wrong. Because he suddenly felt a sharp pain coming from his fist. Ah! The burly man screamed and retracted his fist. His fist had already changed shape. It could no longer be called a fist. It had completely turned into a meat patty. It was obviously fractured. I'm so sorry. I accidentally broke the hand that you rely on for survival. Linny looked at the burly man with a broken hand regretfully. He touched the place where the burly man had hit him. Looks like this protective armor art is not bad. It's quite useful, huh? The burly man who was rolling on the ground in pain was stunned when he heard Linny's words. Then, he felt a little resentful. Why did this kid wear protective armor art when he went out? If he had known, why would he have hit him? He should have hit his head. How unlucky! However, there was no use in being unlucky. There was no medicine for regret in this world. He could only accept the fact that his hand was broken. The other 3 burly men who hadn't made a move initially thought that Linny had practiced some kind of divine skill when they saw the burly man on the ground suddenly break his hand. They didn't dare to make a move. But after hearing Linny's words, they came to a sudden realization. So this kid had a treasure on him to protect himself. In that case, there would be no problem. It wasn't that this brat could take a beating, but it was the armor he was wearing. In that case, wouldn't it be better to just hit his head directly? Blackbird was shocked by Linny and didn't know what to do. When he heard that Linny had a treasure, he was overjoyed. Go! Snatch his armor! Blackbird couldn't help but look forward to it. If he could have this armor, he could wear it whenever he went out. He wouldn't have to be afraid of being caught stealing anymore. Whoever dared to beat him would have to pay the price in blood. Looking at his underling on the ground, his arm was broken, right? Blackbird hated himself for not meeting Linny earlier. If he'd met Linny earlier and gotten this treasure, he wouldn't have been kicked by Xiaoka. Xiaoka would have broken his leg. He was born at the wrong time. Blackbird felt that it was a pity, but it wasn't too late. At least with this armor, he could protect his only remaining egg from being attacked. The three men already had the intention to attack Lin Yi. When they heard Blackbird's order, they were eager to make a contribution. They swung their fists at Lin Yi's head. Bang! 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 With three muffled sounds, the three men punched Lin Yi's head at the same time. From their point of view, even if Lin Yi didn't faint, he would at least have a concussion. However, it was too early for them to be happy. Before they could react, a sharp pain came from their fists. Ah! My hand! It hurts! Why is his head so hard? Mine is broken too. How is this possible? The hands of the three burly men were also twisted beyond recognition. It was as miserable as one could imagine. The three men rolled on the ground in pain. It was embarrassing enough. You have armor on your head as well? Blackbird was also shocked by the scene. He couldn't believe that his subordinates, who were still alive and kicking a few moments ago, were now crippled. Yes. Linny nodded. How is this possible? How come I didn't see it? Blackbird was stunned. Yoshioka was surprised as well. It was understandable that Lin Yi had armor on his body, but how could there be armor on his head? Moreover, Yoshioka suspected Lin Yi's words from the beginning. She was very close to Lin Yi and could clearly see that other than a shirt, Lin Yi didn't have any other clothes on. How could there be armor on his head? The fists of the four people on the ground did not seem to have hit anything hard at all. Even if a person's fist hit an iron sheet, they would at most get a swollen fist or a fractured joint. It was impossible for their fists to become like this. Judging from the condition of these people's fists, it seemed as if they had been forcefully destroyed and compressed by some external force. Their hands were completely distorted, as if they had been blown up by an explosion. As a result, Xiaoka doubted whether the armor he was talking about was real or not. Of course you can't see it, Linny said calmly, because this is the martial art that I practice. It's called armor. Huh! Are you *King kidding me? Blackbird heard Lin Yi's words and was furious. He felt like he was played by Lin Yi. He thought that Lin Yi had some kind of treasure on him, but he didn't expect that Lin Yi didn't have any treasure at all. Instead, he practiced armor. I'm not kidding. I told you before that it's armor, Lin Yi said innocently. But you didn't say that it's armor? Blackbird gritted his teeth in anger. He was humiliated today. He wanted to teach Yoshioka a lesson, but he didn't expect Yoshioka's boyfriend to appear out of nowhere. Not only did Yoshioka defeat his four underlings, but he also seemed to be fine. That's my abbreviation. I thought you knew it. I didn't expect you to be so stupid. Linny looked at Blackbird mockingly. Kid, don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you practice some body-hardening martial art. Do you know who I am? Blackbird pretended to be fierce. He didn't expect Linny to be so strange. I know. Didn't you say that you are called Blackbird? Did you change your name again? Linny looked at Blackbird strangely. Was this guy like Yushu who liked to change his name? Yushu's name change was cute, but this guy was an idiot. I, Blackbird, am the second in command of Songshan's thief organization. Now that you hurt my men, how are you going to pay for this? Blackbird wasn't stupid. He knew that he couldn't use force anymore. His 4 underlings had lost their ability to fight, and he was the only one left. If he continued to fight with Lin Yi, wouldn't he be humiliating himself? Chapter 777. Let's call someone. Oh? You said you're the second in command of the Songshan Thief organization? Lin Yi froze when he heard Blackbird Bro's name. It was a little funny in his heart. Silly girl, why is your luck always so good? It seems like you've gotten lucky ever since you met me. Ling Shan had called Lin Yi earlier, asking him to help keep an eye out for the thief organization in Songshan, and Lin Yi had only said it casually. He didn't have any intentions of helping Ling Shan look for them at all. Lin Yi had enough things to do every day, and he didn't have the time to help Ling Shan look for some thief organization. However, Lin Yi didn't expect that the second in command of the Songshan Thief organization would come knocking on his door after just one day. Since the second in command was out, how could he lure the first in command out as well? Lin Yi thought that since he bumped into her, he might as well help Ling Shan get rid of her as well. It wasn't a big deal, and the song girl had been quite obedient lately. He decided to give her some more benefits. How is it? Are you scared now? Blackbird Bros saw Lin Yi's expression and thought that Lin Yi was scared of him. He was very proud of himself. Let me tell you, although our thief organization isn't as ruthless as the mafia, we're still not someone you can mess with as a disciple of the Fian sect. You know Tsihua Bro, right? I do. Lin Yi nodded and thought, Tsihua still owes me 300,000 for the car compensation. How can I not know him? Tsihua Bro is protecting our thief organization, so you know what to do, right? Blackbird Bro knew that Lin Yi knew Tsihua. This saved him the trouble of explaining. Since you know Tsihua, do you still dare to mess with us? What to do? They were the ones who hit me. I didn't do anything, right? Lin Yi shrugged and said innocently. F***ck. Blackbird was stunned. He thought about it carefully, and realized that it was indeed the case. Lin Yi just stood there motionlessly, and it was his men who beat him up. In this way, it wasn't Lin Yi who hit someone, but his subordinate who was careless and injured himself. Who told you to practice that armor? With Tsihua's name, Blackbird became more confident. He didn't think that Lin Yi would dare to do anything to him after hearing Tsihua's name. I'll give you 2 choices now. First, apologize to us and prepare a table of wine. Then, compensate my brothers with 1,800,000 in medical fees and we'll forget about this. I don't have money, and it's not my fault. My body is like this. Who told them to attack me with their fists instead of knives or other weapons? Lin Yi listened carefully to Blackbird's words and smiled bitterly. Then, what's the second choice? Blackbird was stunned after hearing Lin Yi's words. Was Lin Yi an idiot? Why did he expose his own weakness? So he was afraid of weapons and knives. All right, I didn't know what the second choice was to threaten you with, but now I have one. The second option is that I can call a group of thieves with knives, and they will hack you to death. No matter what kind of armor you have learned, you will die. Brother Blackbird threatened. Xiaoka was shocked. Lin Yi would expose his weakness? Tell Blackbird his weakness. Xiaoka didn't believe it. From her point of view, Lin Yi was a smart person. Even she was fooled by him a few times. Why would Lin Yi tell Blackbird his weakness? Moreover, from Xiaoka's point of view, Lin Yi's so-called armor was complete bullshit. Blackbird fell into the misunderstanding that Lin Yi gave him from the start. He thought that Lin Yi used his body to cause the injuries on the 4 men's hands. In fact, Xiaoka didn't think that was the truth. Although she didn't know how Lin Yi did it, Xiaoka felt that Lin Yi must have done something. I'm so scared. Lin Yi pretended to be scared. But I really don't have money. What should I do? As he spoke, Lin Yi turned to Xiaoka. Honey, how much money do we have left in our vault? Where do we have money? We've spent it all. Xiaoka didn't expect Lin Yi to suddenly say that. After a moment of daze, she cooperated with him. She wanted to see what trick Lin Yi was playing. However, Blackbird was going to be unlucky. From Xiaoka's understanding of Lin Yi, Lin Yi wasn't someone who liked to suffer losses. Last time she stole his wallet, he took it back with interest. Since Blackbird provoked Lin Yi, how could Lin Yi let him go so easily? Look, my wife said that we don't have money. Lin Yi looked at Blackbird helplessly. Fuck! I think you two won't give up until you see the coffin. Blackbird naturally didn't believe Xiaoka's words. Xiaoka had stolen more than 100,000 yuan from robbers. In addition to the money she stole herself, she had probably stolen more than 1,000,000 yuan. Since Blackbird caught these two, how could he let them go so easily? Xiaoka's qigong was good. If he let her go this time, he didn't know when he would catch her again. Also, this Lin Yi was very strange. He practiced some kind of armor skill. Even if he let him go this time, it would be difficult to catch him again. No, Blackbird bro, look, we really don't have money. Lin Yi shrugged. If we had money, we wouldn't steal money. Right, honey? Yeah. We steal money because we lack money. Who would want to be a thief if they have money? Who would want to do such a bad job? Xiaoka nodded. Fuck! Are you saying that I'm bad? Blackbird was enraged. Fine, you have guts. If you have guts, don't leave. Stand here and wait. I won't kill you. As he spoke, Blackbird took out his phone and dialed the number. Giant dear bro, I'm Blackbird. I met Xiaoka and her man from Fian sect at Old Tao Alley. Her man is a bit difficult to deal with. I need 10 people with knives to come and chop him up. After Blackbird finished the call, he looked at Lin Yi fiercely. Are you scared now? I'm not joking. I'm telling you, don't even think about running. Songshan is Sihua Bro's territory. You can't run even if you want to. If you don't give me an explanation today, don't even think about making a living in Songshan. Chapter 778. Sect Leader Senior Sister Lingshan. What do you mean? Blackbird froze after hearing Lin Yi's words. You'll know what I mean soon, Lin Yi said as he took out his phone and called Lingshan. Lingshan was currently at the police station, collecting the final evidence of the kidney trafficking organization. With Zhong Pingliang and Zhang Wen's testimonies, the case could basically be closed. Lingshan's phone rang, and she took it out. Her heart skipped a beat when she saw Lin Yi's name on the screen. She quickly picked up the phone. Good man, why did you call me? Lingshan was alone in her office, and there were no outsiders, so she didn't need to hide anything. Song Shiji, I'm at Old Tao Alley, and I'm surrounded by the thief organization of Songshan. A second-in-command called Blackbird Bro is looking for people to kill me, Lin Yi said directly. What? You found the thief organization's member? Or their second-in-command? Lingshan's blood was boiling after hearing Lin Yi's words. She really wanted to rush over and give Lin Yi a kiss. He solved the case so quickly. She just told him about the thief organization yesterday, and he solved it for her today. Lin Yi was such a good man, and he treated her so well. It seemed like Lin Yi liked her silly girl very much. Otherwise, why would he help her like this? Lingshan couldn't hold back her joy. As for the Song Shiji, that Lin Yi called her, Lingshan didn't understand. Since when did she become Song Shiji? Our Fian sect has been holding grudges against them for a long time. Head Shiji, you need to send some people to help us. We're going all out today, and we'll fight it out with the thief organization. Lin Yi didn't answer Lingshan's words, but continued. Bring more people, or else we'll be at a disadvantage. All right, I'll bring them over now. Lingshan wasn't an idiot. Lin Yi's words were a little weird, but she understood what he was implying. He wanted her to bring a large force over. Senior Sister Sect Leader, you came personally? That's great. I'll wait for you here. Lin Yi didn't wait for Lingshan to reply and hung up. He pointed at Blackbird and said, Who doesn't know how to find people? Our sect leader Senior Sister has said that because our Flying Sparrow Gate and your group of thieves have a long-standing grudge, today we will fight to the death here. Xiaoka's eyes were wide open. Who is Lin Yi calling? Senior Sister Sect Leader? How could the Flying Swallow School have a sect leader Shiji? This branch of the Flying Sparrow School had been passed down to only one disciple, and he was the only disciple. Moreover, Lenny wasn't even a member of the Flying Sparrow School, so why was he acting so well? However, although Xiaoke was confused, she didn't voice it out. She decided to wait and see. Lenny must have his reasons for doing this, and Xiaoke had a feeling that Blackbird was going to be in big trouble soon. Fuck, I said that you guys are fat, and you're panicking? Blackbird heard that Lenny called the Flying Sparrow School's sect leader Shiji over, and he was a little angry. Do you think I don't know how to call people? Since your Flying Sparrow School doesn't know what's good for you, we'll destroy you guys today. People of the same trade were enemies, especially the Flying Sparrow School, which often took advantage of others. The thief group hated them deeply. Of course, they only knew that Xiaoke was from the Flying Sparrow School, but they didn't know the structure of the Flying Sparrow School. They didn't know where Xiaoke lived or what her real identity was. Otherwise, Xiaoke wouldn't be able to live peacefully in the orphanage. From Blackbird's point of view, Xiaoke wasn't the only member of the Flying Sparrow School, but Xiaoke was one of the more conspicuous ones. He had never seen this Lenny before, but Blackbird believed that Lenny must have done a lot of shady business, but he was more secretive about it. Blackbird had already blamed Lenny for all the failures in the gang. He felt that the Flying Sparrow School must have done something, so his hatred for the Flying Sparrow School had reached a new level. Brother Blackbird dialed Brother Giant Deer's number again and said, Brother Giant Deer, Fian Gate is also calling for reinforcements. They are preparing to fight with us. Their senior sister has already taken action. What do we do? What? The Flying Sparrow School is calling people over? Their sect leader is coming as well? Giant Deer froze for a second, then he was overjoyed. Since they want to die, then don't blame us. I only wanted to send 10 people, but this time, I'll bring all the members of the thief organization and kill them. Okay, Giant Deer Bro, I'll wait for you. Blackbird heard that Giant Deer Bro was coming, and he instantly felt confident. His thief organization had 40 to 50 people, and if all of them came, wouldn't they be able to kill the Flying Sparrow School? How many people could the Flying Sparrow School have? 8 to 10 at most. Blackbird Bro didn't put them in his eyes at all. From his point of view, if the Flying Sparrow School had more people, they wouldn't be in such a miserable state in Songshan, and Xiaoke wouldn't be so weak. After hanging up the phone, Blackbird pointed at Lenny and said, Kid, so what if your sect leader is here? Giant Deer Bro brought all the members of our thief organization here, and will kill you all. It can't be? Your sect leader is here too? Lenny pretended to be surprised, but in his heart he thought, I was afraid that you guys wouldn't come. The reason why Lenny acted like this was because he wanted Blackbird to call all the members of the thief organization over, and then he would kill them all at once. Otherwise, with Lenny's skills, it would be easy to take down Blackbird Bro, but after taking him down, it wouldn't be easy to wipe out the thief organization. Blackbird Bro was caught, and the thief organization would definitely be alerted. It was basically impossible to kill them all at once. However, Lenny cleverly used the grudge between the Flying Sparrow School and the thief organization to lure all the members of the thief organization over. Blackbird probably didn't even think that the person Lenny called wasn't the Flying Sparrow School, but the criminal police captain Ling Shan. In fact, Blackbird didn't even think about this. He already thought that Lenny was with Yoshioka, so how could he be related to the police? It was a complete fantasy. Under normal circumstances, Giant Deer Bro wouldn't appear personally, as he had to be on guard against the sudden attack of the police. However, the Songshan Thief Organization and the Flying Sparrow School had a long history of grudges, and Giant Deer Bro had wanted to kill the Flying Sparrow School for a long time. Chapter 779. Chapter 0779. The real side of Yoshioka. Even the head of the Flying Sparrow sect was here, so how could the head of the thief organization, Giant Deer Bro, not come personally? How is it? Are you scared now? Your puny Fian gait is no match for our gang of thieves. Blackbird saw Lin Yi's scared face and felt great. You should think about what to do later. Our big boss is here, and it's not something that can be settled with just 1,000,000 or 800,000. Man! Lin Yi sighed, troubled as he dialed Ling Shan's number again. Good person, what are you doing? I'm on my way. Ling Shan saw that Lin Yi was calling again and quickly picked up. She was driving the cheetah, and there was no one else in the car. Head sister, it's bad. The big boss of the thief organization, Giant Deer Bro, is coming with all his men to kill us. What should we do? You have to bring more people, Lin Yi said pitifully. Don't worry, I brought all my squadrons, everyone who doesn't have a mission. The security team is coming with us as well, Ling Shan said. It can't be, head sister, we only have 10 or so people. We won't be able to fight them. Lin Yi continued with a bitter face. You have to think of a way to get more people to help us, or we're done for. Li Shan couldn't help but laugh. Did Lin Yi have a dumb side too? Ling Shan knew that Lin Yi was faking it, and that he was messing with her, but she still felt that it was very fun. Alright, I'll try to get more people. Li Shan couldn't help but laugh. Lin Yi hung up and looked at Shioka with a bitter face. Honey, it's bad. Head sister can only get 10 or so people, what should we do? Ha. There's no need to do anything, just think about how you're going to compensate us later. Blackbird looked at Lin Yi's helpless expression and laughed. You're hilarious. You want to find someone to help you? You don't have enough people, yet you're still looking for reinforcements? Look at the time, it's already too late. Yeah, what should we do? Lin Yi sighed. Don't worry, maybe senior sister sect leader has a way. Shioka knew that Lin Yi was acting. If Lin Yi really couldn't find anyone, why would he stand there and wait for Blackbird's men to kill him? It was obvious that Lin Yi had a plan. Otherwise, it would be a piece of cake for him to defeat Blackbird and run away. That's the only way. Lin Yi nodded. One had to admit that the thief organization was very efficient, or rather, their headquarters wasn't far from here. After a while, a group of people with knives and iron rods rushed over from the front and back of Old Tao Alley, surrounding Lin Yi and Xiaoka in the middle. Blackbird was overjoyed when he saw his men. When he saw Giant Deer, he quickly ran over. Giant Deer Bro, it's them. One is Xiaoka and the other is her man. Oh? What happened to the 4 brothers on the ground? Giant Deer looked at the 4 men who were wailing on the ground and frowned. That kid practiced a skill called armor protection technique. We tried to punch him, but we ended up like this. Blackbird quickly explained. That strong? Giant Deer froze. He didn't expect that there was such a skill. Wouldn't it be bad luck for whoever hit him? Yes, it's really strong. However, he accidentally said that he's not afraid of being hit, but he's afraid of being cut by knives. Blackbird said proudly. I think he's not afraid of heart attacks, but he's afraid of sharp knives. And that makes sense. Giant Deer nodded. While the two were talking, Xiaoka had some free time. She whispered to Lin Yi, Hey, did you call for help? There are so many of them. Can you do it? If I can't, I'll run. Lin Yi smiled. I'm not joking with you. I can't die. If I die, no one will take care of the children in the orphanage. They will starve to death. Xiao Xiao was panicking. Did you really come out to steal money for the children in the orphanage? Lin Yi looked at Shika. From her appearance, she didn't look like a luxurious person. With her daily income, she shouldn't be dressed like this. Of course. You want to donate to me? I'll accept it too, Xiaoka said. Hey, you can find another way to earn money. It's not good to steal money all the time. Lin Yi didn't like the profession of thief, but he didn't hate it either. After all, his master was a master thief. However, Lin Yi felt that Xiaoka's skills were too weak. With this level of skill, she would fall sooner or later. What kind of profession can earn money that fast? Xiaoka rolled her eyes. Hundreds of people have to eat every day. Do you know how expensive things are now? Have you bought daily necessities? Even with a food budget of 10 yuan per person per day, it would still cost more than 1,000 yuan. In addition to buying study materials, injections and medicine for the sick children, clothes, bedsheets, cups, and other daily necessities, as well as utilities, broadband, gas, and cable TV, how could he not have at least 50,000 yuan per month? I'm a girl. Where can I earn 50,000 yuan? If I sell it, I might not be able to earn that much in the future. You really don't know how hard it is for others if you're not in charge. Lin Yi didn't think that his words would cause Shioka to complain like this. But thinking about it, she must have kept these words in her heart for a long time. It was just that she usually didn't have anyone to talk to. Now that she finally had someone to talk to, she poured out everything she knew. But speaking of which, Xiaoke did have a hard time. Earning 50,000 yuan a month, there really wasn't any profession that could have such a high income. Xiaoke didn't have any skills. It was no wonder that she could only come out to steal. Doesn't anyone else donate to the orphanage? Lin Yi asked. There is, but what can we do with 3,000 and 5,000? Xiaoke shook her head and sighed. Sigh. Lin Yi felt a little emotional. If what Xiaoke said was true, then Lin Yi really admired this girl. She supported an orphanage all by herself. No matter what she did to earn money, she was a great person. By the way, you mentioned something about the iron armor art before. Does it really exist? Can you teach it to me? Xiaoke thought about how Lin Yi dealt with the four men and felt a little envious. Chapter 780. Pulling the cushion. Lin Yi had gotten addicted to studying the energy in his body these past few days. These men's hands were naturally caused by the energy explosion that destroyed their bones and meridians. It had nothing to do with where they hit. Lin Yi used the art of dragon mastery to compress the energy in his body the moment they hit him, and then injected it into the men's fists. The effect was obvious, and the men's fists were instantly destroyed. Of course, Lin Yi was just experimenting, and only compressed a small amount of energy. Otherwise, not just a fist, but an entire arm, or even their entire body could explode. These people were all normal people who had never trained before, and had no way of resisting the damage from the instantaneous release of energy. Oh. Then can you teach me? Xiaoke was very envious. If she had Lin Yi's skill, she wouldn't have to live in fear every day. No. Lin Yi shook his head. TSK, so stingy. Xiaoke pouted like a child. You know Qigong, so you should have heard of Golden Class Masters? Lin Yi looked at Xiaoke and asked. Of course, my master was a Golden Class Master when he was young, but he was injured by an enemy. Xiaoke suddenly realized that she had said too much, and that she had said too much. How could she tell these secrets to someone she had just met? What if he was her master's enemy? She quickly shut her mouth and looked at Lin Yi cautiously. Then you can learn when you become a Golden Class Master. You might be able to learn it then. Lin Yi smiled. Lin Yi naturally didn't pay much attention to Xiaoke's background, and Xiaoke thought too much. No way? You're a Golden Class Master? Xiaoke paused and looked at Lin Yi in surprise. No. Lin Yi shook his head. TSK, I knew it. Xiaoke was a little disappointed. How can you meet a Golden Class Master so easily? Hey, when is that senior sister sect leader of yours coming? Our leader brother Giant Deer has arrived. Black Bird was full of confidence now. With Giant Deer supporting him, he wasn't afraid of Lin Yi and Yu Xiaoke at all. Soon, Lin Yi said carefully. Why are there so many of you? Are you all here? Nonsense, if your Flying Sparrow Gate wants to fight to the death, of course, we will give you face and bring everyone here. Blackbird laughed. Are you afraid? Of course not. Lin Yi suddenly smiled. Our people are here. He's here? Where is it? Brother Giant Deer was stunned, and then his face suddenly became a little ugly. Suddenly, ear-piercing sirens sounded from both ends of the alley at the same time. Countless police officers surrounded the alley from both sides at the same time. People inside, listen up. You've been surrounded. Put down your weapons and surrender to lessen your charges. As the police rushed over, a loudspeaker began to shout. F***CK! What's going on? Giant Deer stared at Blackbird and asked. Why are the police here? I don't know. Who knows how the police got the news? Blackbird suddenly stopped and stared at Lin Yi. It's you called the police here. Oh, you're not stupid? Lin Yi looked at Blackbird's flustered expression and couldn't help but laugh. But it's too late. It's useless even if you understand. F***CK. Giant Deer bro, this kid called the police. If we get caught, we'll drag him down with us. Blackbird was furious. He didn't expect Lin Yi to play such a trick and call the police here. He originally thought that Lin Yi was really looking for the Flying Sparrow Gate to fight to the death. He didn't expect that it wasn't the case at all. Brothers, go. Hack him to death. Brother Giant Deer ordered his men. However, at this moment, these thieves didn't dare to attack Lin Yi. They were surrounded by the police and couldn't escape. They would be caught by the police sooner or later. If they attacked now, wouldn't it increase their charges? Who would do such a stupid thing? Therefore, after Giant Deer gave his order, his men looked at each other. No one was willing to attack Lin Yi and Yoshioka first. Didn't you hear what I said? Kill them. Giant Deer panicked. Whoever kills them will get a reward of 100,000 yuan each. Giant Deer thought that there would be brave men under a high reward. If he didn't put up some rewards, who would kill them? Therefore, he didn't say 10 or 20,000 yuan. Instead, he put up a reward of 100,000 yuan. Of course, if he put up a reward of 100,000 yuan during normal times, his men would definitely accept the order to kill them. But now, they were about to be caught by the police. Giant Deer and Blackbird couldn't escape this fate. Where could they get 100,000 yuan? Therefore, even if he could get the 100,000 yuan, he wouldn't be able to spend it even if he had his life. Hacking someone was much more serious than simple theft. If he went to jail, what was the use of money? Therefore, not to mention 100,000 yuan, even if Brother Giant Deer offered a sky-high price of 1 million yuan at this time, no one would be stupid enough to kill him. This alley was surrounded by police. No one could escape. Giant Deer obviously knew this. He grabbed a knife from one of his men and prepared to kill Lin Yi and Yoshioka himself. Others were afraid of aggravating the charges, but Giant Deer wasn't. Brother Giant Deer was the leader of the thief group. The stolen goods that had passed through his hands were worth more than 100 million. Moreover, he had killed a few burglars. He knew very well that entering the police station was a dead end. He would definitely not be able to get out. Therefore, he wasn't afraid. Before he died, he wanted to drag someone down with him. Therefore, he held the knife and went to kill Lin Yi. Little bastard, how dare you trick me? Even if I go in today, I won't let you have it easy. Giant Deer was a ruthless character. Otherwise, he wouldn't have killed so many people. He swung the knife at Lin Yi's head. No matter what armor you have, it's useless. No matter how good your martial arts is, you're still afraid of a knife. Have you heard of this? I have. Lin Yi nodded before lifting his leg and kicking. Giant Deer was like a kite with a broken string, flying out in the direction of Lin Yi's kick, smashing through the lackeys behind him. He didn't seem to have any intention of stopping, crashing all the way back until he hit the last lackey in the row behind him. Only then did he land heavily on the ground. Chapter 781. Let's talk quietly. Needless to say, Lin Yi's strength was very precise. If he used more strength, Giant Deer would have hit the police behind him. If he used less strength, he wouldn't have been able to sit on the knife. Lin Yi's kick shocked Giant Deer's lackeys. Blackbird was also shocked. He looked at Lin Yi in shock. Didn't you only cultivate the protective armor technique? Why are you so strong? Blackbird looked at Lin Yi in disbelief and stuttered. If Giant Deer bro hadn't arrived, wouldn't Lin Yi have kicked him to death with that one? Blackbird knew that Giant Deer used to practice taekwondo, and his body was very strong. If giant deer could be kicked dozens of meters away by Lin Yi, how could Black Bird withstand it? It seemed that Lin Yi was pretending to be afraid. He wasn't afraid at all. Lin Yi's purpose of doing this was to get all the members of the thief gang to be arrested by the police. Black Bird understood that he was tricked by Lin Yi. And he was tricked by Lin Yi. However, although he was angry, he didn't dare to go against Lin Yi. He was afraid that Lin Yi would kick him too. If that happened, he wouldn't be able to live anymore. Especially when he saw a giant deer sitting on the knife, Black Bird's heart skipped a beat. He wondered if giant deer was dead or not. Black Bird knew that the reason why giant deer dared to fight against Lin Yi and wanted to drag Lin Yi down with him was because giant deer wouldn't be able to come out after being sent to the police station. However, Black Bird wasn't. Although he was the second leader of the thief gang, he wasn't the main culprit. Plus, he didn't kill anyone. He only raped a few women, so he didn't deserve to die. When did I say that I only practiced armor protection? Lin Yi asked back. This? Black Bird froze. He thought about what Lin Yi said and realized that Lin Yi really didn't say that he only practiced armor protection. She'd taken everything for granted, thinking that Lin Yi wasn't afraid of getting beaten up because of the armor arts he practiced. She didn't know that Lin Yi was just as good at hitting people. Black Bird sighed and accepted his fate. However, he sneered at Lin Yi and Yoshioka. When the police come, I'll report your identities. If we go to jail, don't think about getting away with it. With the police here, you won't be able to do anything. Isn't that kick a little too strong? Shioka looked at Lin Yi shocked. How's that giant deer, bro? Maybe his butt was cut off, or maybe both his balls were cut off. Lin Yi shrugged. Black Bird shivered when he heard that. So cruel. He still had one egg, but this brother giant deer didn't even have two. Yoshioka heard Lin Yi's words and giggled. Serves him right. In front of the armed police, the thief gang members did not resist at all. They all surrendered. They were thieves, not gangsters. Most of them only committed theft and would be released after a few years in jail. Why would they resist? Ling Shan didn't expect all the thieves to be here. Wasn't Lin Yi too powerful? He tricked all these people into coming here and waiting for her to catch them? Ling Shan's heart was filled with pride and excitement as she looked at the police cars she'd brought, filled with the members of the thief organization. Throughout the history of the Songhan Police Department, no one had ever caught so many thieves at one time. It was like picking up the whole nest. Just when Ling Shan was lost in her thoughts, a figure flew in front of her. Ouch! He screamed in pain and fainted with his butt covered in blood. Captain Song, isn't that the leader of the thief organization, the wanted criminal named Giant Deer? Lu Wangli immediately recognized the person who flew over. It was Giant Deer, the wanted criminal of the police department. However, he hid very well and the police couldn't find him. Is it really Giant Deer? Ling Shan had heard from Lin Yi that the boss of the thief organization would be coming as well, but it was a different feeling now that she'd actually caught him. Yes. Lu Wangli really admired his superior. Her efficiency in solving cases was unparalleled. Even Yang Huaijuan couldn't solve cases this fast when he was the captain. Ling Shan could solve a case as soon as there was one. From Lu Wangli's point of view, this thief organization case was going to be a headache. It was easy to catch one or two thieves, but to completely destroy the entire organization, that was a different story. This wasn't something that could be done in a day or two. But it only took a day, and Ling Shan actually brought the entire criminal police team to arrest them. The entire organization seemed to be waiting to be caught, from the leader to the normal members, everyone had a part in it. Not a single one of them could escape. You stay here, I'll go over there for a bit, Ling Shan said as she looked through the gap in the deer's path. As Lin Yi's silly girl, Ling Shan had to thank Lin Yi as soon as possible after receiving benefits from Lin Yi. Ling Shan knew very well that no matter how much Lin Yi spoiled her, there was a limit. If she really made Lin Yi unhappy, then there would be nothing left. Lu Wangli saw the direction Ling Shan was heading to, and he also saw Lin Yi. He couldn't help but be stunned. Lin Yi, what was he doing here? Suddenly, Lu Wangli remembered the first time they solved the bank robbery case. Lin Yi was also there with Ling Shan, and he seemed to have guessed something. Could it be that Lin Yi was involved in this? It was possible. Otherwise, why would Lin Yi appear here out of coincidence? And why was Ling Shan in such a hurry to see Lin Yi? But thinking about the rumors, Lin Yi was Ling Shan's rumored boyfriend. So, even if Lin Yi was involved, Lu Wangli didn't think there was anything wrong with it. So what if he helped his girlfriend solve the case? It was the law of the land, and it was Ling Shan's family who did it. No one could take it away from him. With that thought, Lu Wangli felt relieved. He didn't need to care about these things anymore, he just needed to follow Ling Shan's footsteps. It didn't matter if Ling Shan was strong or if Lin Yi was strong, it didn't matter. Ling Shan had done a good job, and he would get benefits as her follower. If he followed Ling Shan closely, his future would be bright. Lin Yi saw Ling Shan walking towards him and smiled. "You're not slow, are you?" Chapter 782. I want to make a report. It's nothing. Lin Yi shook his head. I want to make a report. Officer, I want to make a report. Blackbird suddenly shouted at this moment. Report? What do you want to report? Ling Shan wasn't happy that she was interrupted. She immediately recognized Blackbird as the second in command of the thief group. Ling Shan frowned. Don't play any tricks, spit it out if you have something to say. Officer, I want to report them. They are thieves as well. They are from the famous Fian sect. Blackbird knew that he wouldn't be able to come out for a while, so he wanted to drag someone down with him. The people he wanted to drag down were Lin Yi and Yu Shioka. From his point of view, Lin Yi and Yu Shioka were informants. Ling Shan didn't treat them as thieves, so Blackbird wanted to expose them. Fian sect? Ling Shan froze. She turned to look at Lin Yi and realized that Yu Shioka was hiding behind Lin Yi. Ling Shan was focused on Lin Yi and didn't notice Yu Shioka beside Lin Yi. However, with Blackbird's reminder, she immediately realized that this was the female cat burglar she hadn't been able to catch. Shioka knew that something was wrong when she saw Ling Shan walking over. She wanted to run, but there were thieves all around her, and behind them, there were layers of police officers surrounding her. How could she run? So, Yu Shioka hid behind Lin Yi and prayed that Ling Shan wouldn't notice her. In fact, Ling Shan really didn't notice her and thought that she was a member of the thief group. She only talked to Lin Yi for a while. Shioka was feeling lucky, but who would have thought that Blackbird bro would report her to Ling Shan? For a moment, Yu Shioka was furious. She really wanted to kick Blackbird's remaining balls. This guy was too despicable. Yes, it's Yu Shioka from the Fian sect, that woman. Blackbird saw Ling Shan's stunned expression and thought that she didn't know who Yu Xiaoxiao was. He quickly continued. The Fian sect is one of the most famous thief organizations, and this woman is one of the most active thieves in the sect. Not only does she steal money from others, but she also takes advantage of others. Just the money she stole from our organization is more than 100,000. The man next to her was her husband and also one of the core members of Fian Gate. Officer, don't be fooled by them. Blackbird spilled out Yu Shioka's crimes in one breath. He hated Yu Shioka to the core. He came here to take revenge on Yu Shioka, but not only did he fail, he was caught by the police. How could he accept this? So before he was caught, he had to do everything he could to take revenge on Yu Shioka. Ling Shan couldn't help but frown at Shioka's words, since when did Lin Yi join Fian sect? He's Shioka's man now? Ling Shan wasn't happy at the thought. Yu Shioka was quite lucky, wasn't she? She actually had a boyfriend like Lin Yi? Why were all these women so lucky? She worked so hard and only Lin Yi didn't call her Miss Brain Dead. But Yu Shioka probably didn't know Lin Yi for long, and she could already make Lin Yi do things for her? Ling Shan felt that it was unfair and glared at Yu Shioka. Yu Shioka, you didn't think that you wouldn't run away in the end, did you? You still fell into my hands in the end? Ugh. Ling Shan sis, I'm the informant now. Without me, you wouldn't have been able to catch so many thief organization members, right? Yu Xiaoke said as she looked around for a possible escape route. Yu Xiaoke saw that Lin Yi knew Ling Shan, so she couldn't rely on Lin Yi anymore. She could only put her hope on herself, and see if she could find a chance to escape. Informant? But this black bird informant too? He's informant too? Ling Shan wasn't moved at all. Yu Xiaoke was a criminal, and she had the responsibility to bring her to justice. Yu Xiaoke had been registered in the police station for a long time. Many rich and powerful people had come to report cases, and Yu Xiaoke had been robbed or even beaten up. Ling Shan placed a lot of importance on these cases, and had set up a few operations to capture Yu Xiaoke. Who would have thought that Yu Xiaoke's qigong was so good, and she managed to escape a few times. Even though he was a golden class master, he couldn't catch up to Xiaoke's qigong. Her qigong seemed to be a unique skill, and although he didn't see how strong she was able to run faster than anyone else. Yu Xiaoke's name was much bigger than the thief organization. There was no other reason than that Yu Xiaoke specialized in stealing from the rich and heartless, and these people were usually rich and powerful. When something happened, they would naturally report it to the police, and as time went by, Yu Xiaoke became the focus of the police. When these rich people reported to the police, they naturally wouldn't say what they had done before, and they would only blame Yu Xiaoke. Ling Shan didn't know Yu Xiaoke's motive, and so she treated Yu Xiaoke as a thief who specialized in stealing from the rich. This? Sigh, alright, Ling Shan sis, I admit defeat this time, I'll go with you. Yu Xiaoke lowered her head and walked towards Ling Shan slowly, as if she was surrendering. But before she could finish, Yu Xiaoke's footsteps changed, and she quickly went around Ling Shan, running behind Ling Shan. Yu Xiaoke had already observed the terrain, and behind Ling Shan was a path that Lin Yi had opened with giant deer Bro's body. As long as Yu Xiaoke followed this path, she might be able to escape. After all, the police were busy stuffing the thieves into the cars, and not many would notice Yu Xiaoke. By the time they did, it would be too late. Where do you think you're going? Ling Shan laughed coldly, slapping Yu Xiaoke's back. Ling Shan had interacted with Yu Xiaoke many times, and of course she knew what kind of person Yu Xiaoke was. Ling Shan didn't believe that Yu Xiaoke would admit defeat. Yu Xiaoke was a smart girl, and as long as there was a chance, she would run like crazy. Why would she admit defeat? Chapter 783. How unlucky! Of course, Ling Shan only wanted to capture Yu Xiaoke, not kill her. Otherwise, with Ling Shan's strength as a golden class master, Yu Xiaoke would probably be reborn or transmigrated to another world. Ah! Yu Xiaoke screamed in pain as she flew backwards and fell on the ground. She spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. Lin Yi didn't think that Ling Shan would suddenly attack and frowned. Why did you hit her? If I didn't hit her, would I have been able to capture her? Ling Shan didn't feel comfortable hearing Lin Yi speak up for Yu Xiaoke. I told you to capture those thieves, not her. Lin Yi had a good impression of Yu Xiaoke. Although they hadn't known each other for a long time, if Yu Xiaoke wasn't lying, then she was worthy of Lin Yi's respect. She was able to support an orphanage all by herself. How much courage and perseverance did she need to be able to do that? She's a thief too. Ling Shan looked at Lin Yi stubbornly. She had her own principles. Although she always acted like a yes man in front of Lin Yi, she couldn't let that destroy her principles and perseverance. Lin Yi was surprised by Ling Shan's expression. Ling Shan had always been docile in front of him, but now she had a disagreement with him. However, Lin Yi thought about it and understood Ling Shan's position. She was a soldier, and Yu Xiaoke was a thief. It was natural for soldiers to catch thieves. However, Ling Shan and Yu Xiaoke were in different positions. Yu Xiaoke felt that it was okay for her to steal money for the orphanage, but Ling Shan felt that no matter what, Yu Xiaoke was a thief. Lin Yi nodded and didn't make things difficult for Ling Shan anymore. Black Bird, on the other hand, was extremely pleased. Xiaoke was beaten up by Ling Shan, and he was finally able to vent the anger he had been suppressing for a long time. Xiaoke, did you want to send us to jail? Then I'll send you in first. What about now? Not only will you be beaten up, but you will also be arrested. Linny wanted to check on Yoshioka's injuries. When he passed by Blackbird, Linny accidentally bumped into him. Blackbird was too happy to notice. However, after Linny passed by, Blackbird felt that something was wrong. Why did he suddenly feel hot all over? A surge of desire rose from the bottom of his heart, and Blackbird's eyes became blurry. He looked at Lingshan with a ferocious expression. From the looks of it, he was trying his best to control his emotions, but it was only for a split second before he went berserk, pouncing on Lingshan. "Little girl, give it to me, I want you to play with me once." Lingshan looked at Blackbird, who had yellow teeth and smelly breath, and felt disgusted. She didn't understand. Wasn't Brother Blackbird too daring? How dare he take liberties with her in public? Did he want to die? Lingshan was puzzled when Blackbird's hand reached for her chest. Lingshan was enraged and kicked Blackbird's crotch. Blackbird screamed in pain and fell to the ground. The last thing he said before he fainted was, "My other balls." This was naturally Lin Yi's doing. Lin Yi only stimulated a few acupoints on his body, making him have the urge to sleep with someone else. In fact, this method could also be used on impotence and lack of desire. However, Blackbird had a strong desire to begin with, and after Lin Yi's teasing, he lost his mind. The members of the thief organization also felt strange. Did Blackbird lose his mind? How dare he take liberties with Lingshan? Wasn't he looking for death? However, they couldn't even protect themselves, so they didn't have the time to care about Blackbird's madness. All of them lowered their heads and didn't dare to breathe loudly. They were afraid that they would be Lingshan's next target. However, Lingshan didn't want to argue with them and went to look for an ambulance. Lu Wangli had already called an ambulance for Giant Deer Bro. Now Yoshioka and Blackbird were in the ambulance. Linny naturally didn't care about Blackbird's life and walked towards Yoshioka. Squatting down, Linny wanted to check on Yoshioka's injuries. However, Yoshioka suddenly opened her eyes and gave Linny a look. Linny was surprised. "You didn't faint? I'm all right. I can barely hold on." Yoshioka forced a smile. "Thank you for taking revenge for me." Yoshioka must have guessed that Linny did something to Blackbird. Otherwise, Blackbird wouldn't dare to take liberties with the female officer at this time. Did he think his life wasn't long enough? It's nothing. Linny didn't know why, but he felt pity for the pitiful Yoshioka. Linny was a cold person by nature, and he maintained a high level of indifference towards his enemies and strangers. He only treated his friends with sincerity. As for Xiaoka, he had only met her for the second time, and he was deeply moved by her experience. Lin Yi could be considered as an orphan, and Yu Xiaoka was probably the same. Otherwise, she wouldn't have worked so hard for the orphanage. The two of them had some similarities. "Song Lingshan is here. I'm going to faint. Don't expose me." Yu Xiaoka blinked her eyes and suddenly, her head tilted and she fainted on the ground again. Since Yu Xiaoka said so, Lin Yi couldn't help her anymore. At this time, Song Lingshan directed the paramedics to carry the stretcher over. Lin Yi stood up and moved to the side. Song Lingshan helped the paramedics carry Yu Xiaoka and Blackbird onto the stretcher, and walked towards the ambulance. The thief organization members were mostly caught. Even if they weren't caught, they didn't dare to move. There were armed police in front and behind them. They couldn't run even if they wanted to. They might as well wait for the police to deal with them. "You ran with them?" Song Lingshan saw that Lin Yi followed and asked softly. Lin Yi looked at Song Lingshan and didn't explain. It was complicated to explain. He had to start from the beggar. Lin Yi was too lazy to explain in detail. Song Lingshan felt wronged and worried. Was Lin Yi blaming her for being a busybody? Shouldn't she ask so much? Chapter 784. Chapter 784. Xiaoka sis, but Lingshan just couldn't understand what was so good about Xiaoka. She was just a female cat burglar, and Lin Yi was taking care of her? The moment Xiaoka's stretcher was about to enter the ambulance, Xiaoka jumped off and waved at Lingshan. "Lingshan sis, bye-bye, I'm leaving." The ambulance was outside the police cordon, and so there weren't many police officers around. Even if there were, they were only there to assist the paramedics. They didn't think that these heavily injured people would be able to get up and run. Xiaoke! Stop right there! Lingshan was pissed off. This Xiaoke was too cunning. She pretended to faint and waited for her to let her guard down before escaping from the stretcher. It was too late for her to catch her now. Xiaoke may be injured, but her qigong wasn't just for show. Lingshan was regretting that she didn't hit Xiaoke too hard, giving her an opportunity to take advantage of. In fact, Lingshan misunderstood. Xiaoke's injuries were very heavy, and a golden class master's attack wasn't something a normal person could take, even if she didn't use her full strength. The reason why Xiaoke was able to get up and run away despite her injuries was because of the conviction in her heart that she couldn't be caught by Lingshan. If she was caught, it wouldn't matter if she went to jail, but what would happen to the children in the orphanage? Lingshan's eyes lit up. So, even if Xiaoke had to die, she had to grit her teeth and run back. She had to take care of all the kids in the orphanage. Her responsibility was too heavy, and she couldn't afford to make any mistakes. Lingshan sis, we'll meet again! Xiaoke's face was in pain, but her voice was happy. She'd finally escaped Lingshan's pursuit once more. You Xiaoke, remember this! See if I don't kill you next time! Lingshan glared at Xiaoke hatefully. She was pissed off. Xiaoke didn't argue with Lingshan. She knew her own situation, and she was heavily injured. She was gritting her teeth and running back to the orphanage. Lenny thought of something and said to Lingshan, I'll go take a look. You can catch her? Lingshan was overjoyed after hearing Lin Yi's words. She thought that Lenny was going to help her catch Xiaoke. No, she's not in a good condition. I'm afraid that you'll kill her, Lin Yi said as he followed. Lingshan stomped her feet angrily. It seemed like Lin Yi could have caught Xiaoke, but he didn't, going to check on Xiaoke's injuries instead. But she couldn't interfere with Lin Yi's business. She was angry, but she didn't dare to object to Lin Yi. Lin Yi followed Xiaoke secretly, and saw her running towards the slums. Lin Yi had to admit that Xiaoke was very fast. If he wasn't mystic and good at speed, Lin Yi might not be able to catch up to Xiaoke. Xiaoke was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, she had passed through the slums and arrived in front of a dilapidated courtyard. She pushed the door open and entered the courtyard. Perhaps it was because she had used up the last bit of energy in her body, but the moment she entered the courtyard, she fell to the ground and couldn't get up again. Lin Yi admired Xiaoke's endurance. It was so far away, and she used her last bit of energy to run here. It was very rare. This was a very dilapidated courtyard. At the gate of the courtyard, there was a wooden sign with black characters on a white background. However, because of the age, it was already mottled. There were only a few vague words on it. If you looked closely, you could see that it said, Shantytown Private Orphanage. So it was an orphanage? After seeing the sign, Lin Yi's suspicions towards Xiaoke disappeared. He was 100% sure that what Xiaoke said was true. But the orphanage was so dilapidated that it made Lin Yi a little moved. Lin Yi walked over quickly and came to Xiaoke's side. He bent down and reached out his hand to check on Xiaoke's injuries. Who are you? Let go of Xiaoke sis. Bad guy. Stay away from Xiaoke sis. Suddenly, a group of kids ran out from the only red brick house in the courtyard and surrounded Lin Yi. They didn't want Lin Yi to get close to Xiaoke. Xiaoke sis, what's wrong? Woo-woo. Xiaoke sis, why are you vomiting blood? A little girl cried when she saw the blood at the corner of Xiaoke's mouth. The other boys, on the other hand, glared at Lin Yi. Who are you? Why did you hurt Xiaoke sis? Lin Yi didn't think that his kind action would be misunderstood by these kids, but he didn't mind it. After all, these kids didn't know anything. Seeing Xiaoke lying here, they naturally thought that he was the bad guy who hurt Xiaoke. However, there was one thing that Lin Yi could see. These kids had a deep relationship with Xiaoke, so what Xiaoke said before was true. She stole the money for these kids, for this orphanage. What are you doing? Go back now! An authoritative voice sounded. Linny looked up and saw an old woman in her 50s walking out from the red brick house. She quickly walked to Linny and looked at Shioka on the ground, then at Linny. She had a complicated expression on her face. Principal, this person is a bad guy. He hurt Shioka sis. Shioka sis is vomiting blood. Should we call the police and arrest him? Stop arguing. Go back now. The old woman called Principal shouted at the kids. There's nothing for you to do here. Go back and read your books. But Principal, Shioka sis is vomiting blood. Woo-woo. The younger girl cried and didn't want to leave. What? My words don't work, do they? All of you, go back. The old woman yelled at the girl and pulled her over to prevent her from getting close to Linny. She then turned to one of the older boys. Ken, take your brother and sister back. Chapter 785. She'll die if you don't save her, but it was obvious that the kids were worried about Xiaoka's situation. How could they relax after seeing Xiaoka vomit blood? After the kids left, the old woman looked at Lin Yi. Xiaoka stole your money, right? But you're really too vicious. You actually chased her all the way here. She stole your money, I can compensate you. I hope you can let Xiaoka go. She's a good child, I believe you've seen it too. She stole all the money for the sake of this orphanage. If it wasn't for the fact that I'm useless, I wouldn't have let this child out. The old woman didn't want the kids to know that their beloved Xiaoka sis went out to earn money for them every day, but in reality, she was stealing. Only she knew about this, and no one else knew about it. This was also why the old woman told the kids to go, and it was best to hide this from the kids as much as possible. It was best not to let the kids know about this beforehand, or else it wouldn't be good for their growth. Lin Yi paused after hearing the old woman's words, and understood that she misunderstood. She thought he was the one who threw the things, and he was the one who caused Xiaoka's injuries. That was why he came here. The old woman knew Xiaoka's skills. She wasn't very strong, but someone who could injure her wasn't weak either. Lin Yi was obviously skilled in martial arts if he could injure Xiaoka. The old woman couldn't see through Lin Yi's strength, but she was still cautious. So, the old lady said a few words for Xiaoka, hoping that Lin Yi could understand. You misunderstood, she didn't steal my money. Lin Yi shook his head. You didn't steal? The old woman paused and looked at Lin Yi, surprised. If she didn't steal, then why did you do this? The old woman's tone became serious, and her face showed a vigilant expression. Her aura rose in an instant. Golden class? Lin Yi was slightly taken aback, but he shook his head. Your strength isn't at the golden class, but your aura is there. How strange. The old woman raised her aura, and Lin Yi instantly sensed that she was at the early phase of the golden class. However, Lin Yi soon felt that something was wrong. Although her aura was at the golden class, the true qi on the old woman's body was not strong. At this moment, it was already very good to have half of the strength of the golden class. It seemed that half of her true qi was sealed by something. You know about the golden class? The old woman's expression suddenly changed. She stared at Lin Yi. She didn't expect Lin Yi to see through her strength at a glance. Was Lin Yi also an expert? I didn't injure Xiaoka, she was injured by Ling Shan. Lin Yi didn't answer the old woman's question and explained Xiaoka's injury instead. Ling Shan? Ling Shan from the city's criminal police team? The old woman had obviously heard of Ling Shan's name. Yes, move aside. Xiaoka's injury is very serious, and she might die if we don't save her. Lin Yi ignored the old woman and squatted down, holding Xiaoka's hand. The old woman had already decided to fight with Lin Yi, but Lin Yi didn't seem to want to fight at all. He squatted down and exposed his body's weakness to the old woman, and she didn't know what to do. Should she attack or not? The old woman felt that attacking Lin Yi from this angle would give her an absolute advantage. At the very least, she would be able to gain the upper hand, but Lin Yi said that he didn't injure Xiaoka, and that he was here to save her? The old woman didn't believe Lin Yi's words, but seeing that he was holding Xiaoka's hand, it didn't seem like he wanted to hurt her. Her heart relaxed a little, but she still looked at Lin Yi cautiously, afraid that Lin Yi would hurt Xiaoka. Lin Yi checked Xiaoka's injuries. Ling Shan's palm had only shifted Xiaoka's organs, and she'd be able to recover after some rest. But Xiaoka had used her last breath to run back to the orphanage, aggravating her injuries. She'd already sustained internal injuries, and if she didn't get treated soon, there'd be repercussions even if she did recover. Find me a quiet room, don't let anyone disturb me. Lin Yi carried Xiaoka and ordered the old woman. You really want to save Xiaoka? The old woman naturally didn't believe Lin Yi. After all, they only met once, and she didn't know the relationship between Lin Yi and Xiaoka. She was a little hesitant. If you can heal her, I'll let you do it, Lin Yi said faintly. How could the old woman know how to heal people? If it weren't for Lin Yi, her first reaction would be to send Xiaoka to the hospital. Perhaps Lin Yi touching Xiaoka triggered her injury, but just when the old woman was hesitating whether or not to believe Lin Yi, Xiaoka woke up. She opened her eyes with difficulty and saw that she was in Lin Yi's arms. She paused and said, "You're a good friend. Are you going to send me to the hospital? Did Song Lingshan chase after me? Xiaoka, how are you?" The old woman didn't expect Xiaoka to wake up so suddenly and asked in surprise. "Master." Xiaoka saw the old woman too and forced a smile. "I'm okay, I got hit by Lingshan." With that, Xiaoka fainted again. She felt that Lin Yi wouldn't leave her to die, and with the dean beside her, she didn't have to hold on anymore. The old woman heard Xiaoka's words and saw that Xiaoka didn't have any hostility towards Lin Yi. She finally calmed down and brought Lin Yi to an empty room. "This is Xiaoka's room, separate from the kids. No one will disturb you here." "But can you really save Xiaoka?" Lin Yi frowned. Since this old woman was Xiaoka's master, and she really did care about Xiaoka, Lin Yi didn't show too much impatience. "I can save her, leave," Lin Yi said faintly. The old woman was in a difficult position. She didn't trust Lin Yi 100%, and she didn't dare to leave casually. She was afraid that Lin Yi would do something to hurt Xiaoka. After all, Xiaoka was very pretty. What if Lin Yi had bad intentions and did whatever he wanted when Xiaoka couldn't move? If Lin Yi knew what the old woman was thinking, he would only smile bitterly. Chapter 786. Xiaoka's boyfriend? Lin Yi had been having a lot of fun using his energy to save people these days. It seemed that his energy would work on anything other than organic diseases, like Jinhu's heart disease. It was especially effective on external injuries, after all. Lin Yi silently activated the art of dragon mastery, and the energy in his body flowed into Xiaoka's body. However, Xiaoka's injuries weren't that serious, so she didn't need a lot of energy. Lin Yi didn't feel tired at all, and not long after, Xiaoka's face regained some color. The old woman's eyes widened in shock. Lin Yi only held Xiaoka's hand and didn't do anything else, and Xiaoka's condition was getting better and better? How was that possible? This didn't make sense. Suddenly, the old woman thought of a shocking possibility. When she was young, she had also suffered a serious injury. Not only was her martial arts crippled, she was also on the verge of death. The old woman's master, in order to let her live, had passed on all her martial arts to the old woman through the method of transferring her martial arts. After that, her master was like an oil lamp that had run out of oil, walking towards the end of her life. The old woman was very grateful to her master, and it was because of this that she understood the unthinkable of passing on energy. Could it be that Lin Yi was passing on energy to Xiaoka right now? Just what was the relationship between Lin Yi and Xiaoka, for Lin Yi to do something like this? How could a normal friendship do something like this? If it were the old woman herself, she would sacrifice herself without hesitation if Xiaoka couldn't be healed. But that was only because she was Xiaoka's master, and they had a deep relationship. But why would Lin Yi do something like this? Could it be that Lin Yi was Xiaoka's boyfriend? The old woman suddenly thought of this possibility, and started suspecting it. Otherwise, why would Lin Yi sacrifice himself to save Xiaoka? Was he stupid? With that thought, the old woman was even more sure of her guesses. Xiaoka was 18 this year, and it was the age to fall in love. She had neglected this and treated her as a kid, but Xiaoke wasn't a kid anymore. Xiaoke, on the other hand, was under too much pressure. Every day she had to take care of an orphanage all by herself, and it was too tiring. Emotional comfort could relieve some of her pressure. Of course, she had strict requirements for Xiaoke's boyfriend, but now that she saw Lin Yi using pure qi to save Xiaoke, she dispelled her doubts about Lin Yi's character. If he didn't treat Xiaoke well, who would do this? Who? Lin Yi let out a long breath and let go of Xiaoke's hand. Xiaoke needed far less qi than Xiao Xiao, Ming Yao, and General Wei Wu, so although Lin Yi lost some qi, it was nothing to Lin Yi. All right, she'll wake up in a bit. Lin Yi breathed out in relief. He had his own standards, and although he could help Ling Shan solve the case, he could also stop her from catching Xiaoke. I'm leaving. What? You're leaving just like that? The old woman was really confused now. Of course, what confused her was that Lin Yi's face didn't even blush when he used his pure energy to save Xiaoke. This surprised her a lot. There were only two possibilities. One was that Lin Yi's strength was far beyond her imagination, and the other was that Lin Yi wasn't using pure qi? What was it then? The second thing that confused her was that Lin Yi spent so much effort to save Xiaoke. Normally, he would be waiting for Xiaoke to wake up, and she'd be so touched that she'd be in a mess. This was something that young couples should do under normal circumstances, right? But Lin Yi didn't seem to care at all. I still have things to do. I'll be leaving first. Lin Yi nodded. Right, if Ling Shan doesn't let her go, tell her to call me. This is my number. With that, Lin Yi wrote his number on the calendar next to Xiaoke's bed. Wait. May I ask, did you use pure qi to treat you, Xiaoke? The old woman asked the question she had in her mind. You could say that. Lin Yi nodded. Can Xiaoke use your pure qi? The old woman wasn't very strong, but she knew that if it wasn't from the same school, the similarity between qi was close to zero, and it couldn't be used interchangeably. Forcefully injecting it into someone else's body wouldn't benefit them at all. Yes, Lin Yi said. All right, I'll be leaving first. With that, he turned around and left Xiaoke's room, ignoring the old woman. Lin Yi wasn't very familiar with Xiaoke, much less the old woman. So, in terms of helping Xiaoke, Lin Yi did this much was already very good. She stole so much money, but she didn't know how to enjoy it. She was wearing the cheapest clothes on the street, and the room was very simple. The window was broken, and the writing desk was broken. There wasn't even a decent closet. The only luxury item was the computer on the writing desk. Lin Yi was helping Xiaoke because he really liked the girl. She had a hard life, but she was optimistic. She found joy in her pain every day. She stole so much money, but she didn't know how to enjoy a single cent of it. She wore the cheapest clothes on the street, and the room was very simple. The monitor with the big head was already obsolete, and the case was missing a panel. The keyboard and mouse were also the oldest, but they were wiped clean. Someone probably didn't want them anymore and donated them, right? For a young and beautiful girl, makeup, dressing table, and wardrobe were necessary items, but they weren't in Xiaoke's room. There was a bottle of Debao Sod honey on the desk, and the only thing left was a box of hand oil that was rarely seen in shells. It was hard for Lin Yi to imagine how this girl lived every day. She had so much money, but she never fell for it. As for the closet, it was a big cardboard box on the ground. There were a few clothes scattered inside, but it was pitiful. Other than underwear, there were only 2 to 3 sets of outer clothes. It was quite pitiful. So, if it was possible, Lin Yi wouldn't hesitate to help Xiaoke. He wasn't just helping Xiaoke herself, but all the children in the orphanage. Chapter 787. Chapter 787. Yu Xiaoke's admirer. Evidently, Ken had overheard the conversation between Lin Yi and the headmaster. This surprised Lin Yi a little. This kid dared to listen to the headmaster and secretly eavesdrop? It wasn't that Lin Yi didn't take precautions. In fact, there was nothing to hide in the conversation between Lin Yi and the headmaster, and Lin Yi didn't care about anyone eavesdropping. Plus, There were no strangers around the orphanage, so Lin Yi didn't take it to heart. You know about Xiaoke? Lin Yi paused and looked at Ken. Yeah. I know a little, but Xiaoke sis is a good person. Although she steals from those heartless rich bastards. Ken was the oldest in the group, around 15 years old. It was normal for him to know about these things. Can I ask you something? What is it? Lin Yi didn't dislike these orphans, so he didn't mind talking to them. Are you Sister Xiaoke's boyfriend? Xiao Ken hesitated for a moment, but still asked shyly. The way the boy asked the question surprised Lin Yi. There seemed to be a hint of jealousy and envy in the boy's tone. His expression betrayed his true intentions, and Lin Yi found it funny. You like Yushika? Ken was shocked by Lin Yi's sudden question. His face turned red, and he clenched his fists, breathing heavily. He dodged Lin Yi's gaze, not daring to meet Lin Yi's eyes. After a while, he said, All the sensible boys in the orphanage look up to Cassis, and they all want her to be their wives. Ken's words confirmed Lin Yi's guess, although he didn't admit it. It was no different from admitting it. Oh. Lin Yi smiled and looked at Xiao Ken from head to toe. Judging from his figure alone, it was hard to tell that he was only 15 years old. He was already more than 1.7 meters tall, but his young face betrayed his age. At his age, it was normal for him to have feelings for the opposite sex. Xiaoke was very pretty, and she was the idol of these kids. These kids were like fans, and it was understandable for them to have thoughts about her. You wouldn't use Xiaoke's photo to do something perverted, would you? Lin Yi found Xiao Ken interesting and couldn't help but tease him. How is that possible? Xiao Ken suddenly became a little anxious. He stared at Lin Yi with a flushed face. Sister Xiaoke is like a goddess in our hearts. How can I blaspheme her? Hey, I'm just asking casually. Why are you so excited? Lin Yi laughed. It seemed like Xiao Ken wasn't lying. In his heart, he probably admired Xiaoke more than anything else. Actually, we all know that we're not good enough for her. She's so kind, so beautiful, and we all hope that she can find a boyfriend who can protect her and give her happiness, so that she doesn't have to work so hard every day. Xiao Ken suddenly looked up at Lin Yi. And we can't do that. What about you? Me? Lin Yi paused and shook his head. This is the second time I've met her. You're not Xiaoke's boyfriend? Xiao Ken froze as well. Then why did you save her? Kids shouldn't ask about adult matters. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He told Xiao Ken, Go back and study. Let's see if the dean will scold you when she comes out. Then I'll go. Xiao Ken was scared at the mention of the dean. He made a face at Lin Yi and ran back to the red brick house. Lin Yi shook his head. Xiao Ken was a little mischievous, but he was still a kid. However, Xiao Ken's words touched Lin Yi. It wasn't a long-term solution for Xiaoke to keep stealing. Could she do something for the orphanage? Lin Yi wasn't the kind of person who liked to help others, but this time, he changed his attitude because he felt pity for these kids. In a not-so-luxurious ward in People's First Hospital, Kang Mingming was lying on the bed. He had an 4 drip on his face, and he was still cursing. He had just woken up not long ago. He was scared by the old man who was pushing the body downstairs, and he fainted. Zhu Xiaozhang and Wang Shubing had to send him to the ward. After he was hooked up to a drip of glucose and 4 drip, Kang Mingming slowly woke up. Mother ***, what a scam. Pushing a body to scare people. I was almost scared to death. Master Ming, why don't Xiaoang and I go beat up the old man for you? Wang Shubing asked carefully. ***ck off. It's useless, what's the point of beating him up? If you break him, you'll have to pay for it, idiot. Kang Mingming glared at Wang Shubing and said, Right, where's Guan Xian? Did she come to give me an injection? No, it was an old woman. She's huge, and her breasts are bigger than my butt. Wang Shubing shook his head. Mother ***, help me find out when Guan Xian will be on duty, and find a way to trade her for me. Kang Mingming said, I can't catch a cold for nothing. Not only will I suffer, but I'll also have to spend money. Who am I supposed to ask? I don't know anyone in this hospital. This place isn't like Donghai. Wang Shubing sighed. Master Ming, you don't know anything here. Fuck, just give me money. Do I need to tell you? Just find someone who knows the inside story, give them some money, and they'll tell you. Kang Ming Ming said unhappily. For example, the old woman you mentioned before. If you give her some money, I don't believe she won't tell you. That's right. Wang Shubing nodded. Wait a minute, I'll go and see. Before Wang Shubing could finish his sentence, the door of the room was pushed open. The old woman nurse walked in and asked loudly, Is the patient awake? He's awake, he's awake. Auntie, can you come and see? Wang Shubing wanted to get some information from the old woman, so his attitude became very respectful. What did you say? Who are you calling an auntie? I'm not married yet. The old woman nurse glared at him and almost slapped Wang Shubing. I'm sorry, I only saw clearly when I got closer. It's the beautiful nurse. Wang Shubing was shocked and quickly changed his words. My eyesight isn't good, please forgive me. Chapter 788. Kang Ming Ming harms himself. I think I should stay for 2 more days. Wang Shubing whispered. Sister nurse, can I talk to you in private? Talk in private? If you have something to say it here. If you have something to say it quickly, I'm busy. The nurse didn't have a good impression of this Wang Shubing. He called her auntie before. What kind of look was that? Wang Shubing quickly reached into his pocket and took out a few hundred yuan. He didn't know where he lost his wallet earlier, so he didn't have much money left. He roughly looked at it and saw that there was only around 400 yuan. Part of it was just spare change, but that was all he had. He couldn't make it to the bank in time. He could only bite the bullet and say, Sister nurse, can you fulfill a request of mine? What do you mean? Have you been watching too many Japanese porn? I'm a decent person, don't think about those kinds of things. The nurse looked at Wang Shubing with disdain. Also, you want me to give up my dignity for such a small amount of money? Are you dreaming? Huh! Wang Shubing was stunned. He knew that the nurse misunderstood him. This kind of trash, why wouldn't he do it for 400 yuan? Wang Shubing wouldn't want it even if it was free. But now that he had a favor to ask, he could only lower his voice and say, I'm sorry, sister nurse, you misunderstood me. I don't have those kinds of thoughts. I just want to ask you something. Ask you something? What is it? The nurse knew that Wang Shubing didn't mean it that way, and her face softened a little. 400 yuan for some information was worth it, but it depended on what he wanted to know. If it was something unimportant, it was fine to tell him. But if he wanted to pry into the hospital's secrets, then there was no way. She could only say goodbye to the 400 yuan. It's like this, my boss, is this Master Naoming? Wang Shubin pointed at Kang Zhaoming on the bed and continued. He wants to chase after a nurse in your hospital, so he wants to get some information. Oh, why didn't you say so earlier? The nurse snatched the money from Wang Shubing's hand and put it in her pocket. Ask away, I will tell you everything I know. The nurses could still talk about this kind of thing. Moreover, this was not considered as receiving a red packet. This was the income from their labor outside the scope of their work, so they could feel at ease accepting it. That nurse's name is Guan Xian. Is she also a nurse in your surgery department? Wang Shubing quickly asked. Guan Xian, I know, the flower of our surgery department. What do you want to know? The nurses didn't know Guan Xian's background, so they didn't care what they said behind her back. Nurse Sis, my boss came to the hospital because of Guan Xian, but I don't know what kind of illness Guan Xian is responsible for, so I can't get in touch with her even if I wanted to. Wang Shubing said awkwardly. Beautiful nurse, can you point me in the right direction? Oh, that's easy. Guan Xian is in charge of the external wounds, she's not in charge of injections. If you want to see her, you have to have external wounds. Otherwise, you won't be able to see her even if you catch a cold and die here," the old nurse said. "If that's the case, then it looks like we went in the wrong direction." Wang Shubbing looked at Kang Ming sympathetically. It looked like he suffered this cold for nothing. He couldn't even see Guan Xian's shadow. "Okay, if there's nothing else, I'm leaving. You guys figure it out yourself." After the nurse finished speaking, she turned around and walked away. With just a few words, she earned more than 400 yuan. It was really worth it. Mother asterisk cur. Kang Ming was furious. He angrily slapped the bed. "If I knew this was going to happen, I would have investigated it first. At least I wouldn't have to suffer like this." "Yeah, Master Ming, but right now, we can only treat the cold first." Zhu Xiaoang sighed as he replied. "Treat what? Didn't that old woman just say it? I'm almost fully recovered. Hurry up and think of a way to get close to Guan Xian." Kang Ming was anxious. He remembered seeing Guan Xian and that bitch Xiaofen together. He felt a little uneasy. He didn't know what their relationship was. Did Xiaofen tell her about him? But Kang Ming thought that she probably wouldn't say anything yet. This was a little embarrassing for Xiaofen. She wouldn't expose herself, would she? But that girl seemed to be a little crazy, right? If she said it out, then it would be hard to say. So Kang Ming wanted to get Guan Xian as soon as possible. As long as he could get Guan Xian pregnant, then everything would be fine. Even if Guan Xian found out, it was already too late. It didn't matter anymore. "Master Ming, it's still the same trick. As long as you suffer a little more, it'll be fine." Wang Shubbing hesitated and said, "Oh? You mean?" Kang Ming's eyes lit up. "Master Ming, why don't you just cut your hand and get Guan Xian to bandage it?" Wang Shubbing nodded and suggested. "You're right. Come on, now." Kang Ming extended his hand. "Do it." This? Wang Shubbing didn't dare to do it. It was fine for him to cut someone else's hand, but he didn't dare to cut Kang Ming. Who knew how deep it was? What if it hurt? "What is this? Hurry up!" Kang Ming was a little anxious. He came to Songhan with a heavy responsibility. This was also his first time carrying out a mission given to him by his family. So Kang Ming didn't want to fail. He knew that he was a spoiled brat, so this was the only thing he could do. If he couldn't do this well, then he wouldn't have any status in the family. "Xiaoan, you do it!" Wang Shubbing still didn't dare to do it. Zhu Xiaozhang was braver than Wang Shubbing. He was called arrogant bro, but he was arrogant to others. He wasn't arrogant to Kang Ming. "Hurry up, what are you thinking about?" Kang Ming was a little anxious. "Over there, there's still a needle on the drip I just used, right? Cut me with it." "Okay, Master Ming, bear with it for a bit." Zhu Xiaozhang nodded and picked up the used drip needle on the table. He steeled his heart and made a small cut on Kang Ming's arm. Hiss! Kang Ming took a deep breath. It was really painful, but he was the one who asked Zhu Xiaozhang to do it. He couldn't blame Zhu Xiaozhang, could he? "Is that enough?" Zhu Xiaozhang didn't dare to continue after making a small cut. "That's what I mean, right?" Kang Ming was also in pain. "Let's go, let's get Guan Xian to bandage it." Kang Ming didn't care about the drip anymore. He pulled out the needle and quickly ran out of the room. Chapter 789. Testing Guan Xian. "Nurse Guan Xian, help! My boss cut his hand, can you please bandage it?" Wang Shubbing pushed open the nurse's office door and asked Guan Xian. Guan Xian raised her head. She didn't think that it would be Kang Ming and his gang again. Her heart was filled with disgust. How could she not know what Kang Ming was trying to do? But Guan Xian already had someone she liked. There was no way she would do anything with him. Although her sweetheart already had someone else, Guan Xian still wouldn't fall in love with Kang Ming. However, even though she disliked them, she couldn't just ignore them out of professional ethics. She was the only one in the nurse's office, so Guan Xian had no choice but to stand up. Guan Xian furrowed her eyebrows. This Kong Ming was quite smart. Last time he tried to get close to her, but now he cut his hand again. Guan Xian had no choice but to help him first. Usually, the more urgent wounds would be treated first, and then the fees would be paid later. Can I take a look? Guan Xian asked. It's here, Guan Xian. I'm so unlucky. I caught a cold yesterday, and today I cut my hand. Sigh, I'm so unlucky. Kong Ming raised his injured left hand and said to Guan Xian. Guan Xian looked at the wound on Kong Ming's hand. She was speechless. Did he need to bandage such a small wound? Most people would just apply some medicine or a band-aid and be fine. Why was this Kong Ming so delicate? What's wrong? Kong Ming saw that Guan Xian didn't say anything and asked. Guan Xian still didn't say anything. She was sure that Kong Ming did it on purpose. Maybe even the wound on his hand was purposely made by him. Guan Xian was infuriated. How could this guy be like this? Guan Xian opened the cabinet and found a band-aid and gave it to Kong Ming. Here, you can put it on yourself. I put it on myself? Kong Ming was stunned. How are you going to bandage such a small wound? Guan Xian asked. Kong Ming paused for a moment before agreeing with Guan Xian's reasoning. The wound was a bit small, so it wasn't wrong for Guan Xian to give him a band-aid. Then, can you help me? Kong Ming wouldn't let go of any opportunity to get close to Guan Xian. Isn't your other hand fine? Guan Xian frowned. I'm a patient, and you're a nurse. Shouldn't you help me? It's not like I'm not paying for it. Kong Ming said, feeling wronged. Oh, that band-aid is a gift from me. It's free. Guan Xian didn't bother with Kong Xiaoming as she walked back to her desk and started reading her book. Kong Ming had no choice but to stick a band-aid on his wound. He was thinking about how he could get information from Guan Xian and ask her about her relationship with Xiaofen. These words were really difficult to say. He didn't know how to broach this topic. Why aren't you leaving yet? Guan Xian waited for a while and realized that Kong Xiaoming was still standing in her office. She asked curiously. It's nothing, I was just thinking of leaving. Kong Ming laughed and said, Oh right, I came back yesterday to look for you, but I saw you with a girl who couldn't walk properly. It seemed like you were going to do something? Oh. Guan Xian replied meaninglessly. Is she your friend? Kong Ming asked carefully. What does this have to do with you? Guan Xian didn't understand what Kong Ming was trying to say. Nothing. Guan Xian's words made Kong Ming's heart beat faster. He felt that Guan Xian's words had a double meaning. What does this have to do with you? Was that a question or a rhetorical question? Could it be that Guan Xian knows about my relationship with Xiaofen? Kong Xiaoming's heart was getting more and more unsettled. Damn it, Xiaofen, this little bitch. She's not good at anything, but she's good at ruining things. If she really told Guan Xian about him and her, then he really wouldn't stand a chance. Kong Ming wasn't discouraged by Guan Xian's cold attitude. He was quite good at wooing girls. When he first started wooing Xiaofen, Xiaofen was also cold, but didn't they still fall in love with each other? So Kong Xiaoming was confident that he could make Guan Xian fall in love with him, but the biggest obstacle was Fen. If Fen opened her mouth and told Guan Xian about their relationship, then Guan Xian would be on guard against him. If that happened, then Kong Xiaoming wouldn't have a chance anymore. After leaving Guan Xian's office, Kong Ming stomped his feet angrily. Did you guys find anything? Master Ming, it seems like Guan Xian knows something? Zhu Xiaoang said. I think so too. Why do I feel like there's more to her words? Does she know about me and Xiaofen? Kong Ming was unhappy, but he couldn't ask Guan Xian directly. Master Ming, I don't think Guan Xian knows about you and Xiaofen. Wang Shubing shook his head. Oh? What do you mean? Kong Ming was surprised, but his face showed a happy expression. Master Ming, think about it. If Guan Xian knew about this, she wouldn't be so cold to you. She would hate you. Plus, when you asked her about Xiaofan for the first time, if she knew the whole story, she wouldn't just give you a no. She would probably mock you to vent her anger. Wan Shubing analyzed. That's right. That's true. Kang Mingming nodded and relaxed. Then it's easy. As long as Guan Xian doesn't know about it, then there's no problem. Master Ming, we can't let our guard down. Even if Guan Xian doesn't know about it now, she'll find out as soon as she interacts with Xiaofan. So, we need to take measures as soon as possible. Wan Shubing suggested. Yes, haven't we been discussing this matter before? Do you have any good ideas to make Xiaofan shut up? Kang Mingming was worried that Xiaofan would say something. If this matter wasn't solved, it would be a ticking time bomb. Master Ming, to be honest, if we want Xiaofan to shut up, I think we have to give her a sum of money to keep her mouth shut. Wan Shubin hesitated and said, I'm afraid Xiaofan still holds a grudge for what happened in the past. Whether it's physical or emotional damage, it's all very serious. She must hate you, Master Ming, so we have to compensate her to shut her mouth. Chapter 790. Visit and apologize. How much do we need to pay? Kang Mingming asked. I think at least this much. Wan Shubing extended his hand and hesitated. Wan Shubin raised a hand and hesitated. Now that Fan's got a relationship with Xiaobo and Lin Yi, her sights are much higher. Normal money won't be enough for her anymore. 500,000. It's a bit too much, but it's still acceptable. Kang Mingming nodded. Okay, I'll talk to my family and ask them to give me the money. We'll go find Xiaofan tomorrow morning. We need to settle this as soon as possible before anything else happens. It's best to sign an agreement with Xiaofan tomorrow. Our 500,000 will be her compensation. After she signs the agreement, she won't look into what happened in the past and can't mention it to anyone else. Wan Shubing suggested. Of course. What if she doesn't want to pay up after we give her the money? Kang Mingming nodded. The cut on my hand is too small. Does that mean we should make it more serious next time? There's no need to rush. Wan Shubing waved his hand. Master Ming, you caught a cold yesterday and cut your hand today. It's easy to raise suspicion. If you get injured again, Guan Xian will definitely feel that something's wrong. That's true, but I'm a bit scared when I think about making it more serious. A light cut is already so painful, how serious would it be? Kang Mingming was a bit scared just thinking about it. The most important thing now is to settle Xiaofan's matter. Today was the second time Qibing Real Estate officially contacted the slums residents. It was hosted by Zihua, Jin Gubang, and Zhong Fabai. The location was a temporary demolition office in front of the slums. The residents of the shantytown gathered in front of the demolition office early in the morning. Everyone was looking forward to this day. From their perspective, Qibing Real Estate must have come with sincerity this time. The forced demolition incident had caused a lot of trouble, and although it was settled privately, it still cost a lot of money. People who were close to Mrs. Tang all knew that Master Bing paid a huge price for this. From their perspective, Qibing Real Estate would learn from this lesson and discuss the compensation with the residents of the shantytown. Zihua smiled coldly as he looked at the expectant faces of the slums residents. These people were truly laughably stupid. Did they really think that they'd be able to negotiate with them on equal terms just because of what happened with their forced demolition? How naive! Qibing Real Estate didn't have a lot of funds left, and they couldn't afford to compensate the slums residents. Qibing Real Estate was in a hurry to develop and launch their first building, so they had to be decisive. Zhao Qibing couldn't wait any longer. He had been in Songzhan for so long without any results. How was he going to answer to House Zhao? Although House Zhao, including his father, hadn't said anything yet, Zhao Qibing thought that House Zhao must be very disappointed in him. If he couldn't even deal with these unruly people, how could he be in charge of the Zhao family in the future? Sihua's plan this time was very simple. He would trick the slums residents into coming to the demolition office and forcefully demolish them. The target of the demolition was the only building in the slums, a 3-story building made of red bricks. It was too troublesome to demolish one by one. Demolishing one or two wouldn't be effective. Only by making a group of people lose their homes would they be forced to accept the compensation from cheaping real estate. It would only take a few bulldozers to demolish the 3-story building. By the time the building was demolished, it would be too late for the residents to realize that something was wrong. Early in the morning, Xiaofen's parents followed the others to the demolition office, leaving Xiaofen at home. They thought that Xiaofen's legs weren't very good, and they were afraid that Xiaofen would be provoked again if there were any disputes during the negotiation. Just as her parents left, there was a knock on the door. Xiaofen thought that her parents had forgotten something and didn't think much about it. She walked over and opened the door. However, she was stunned when she opened the door. "What's wrong? Am I not welcome here?" Kong Mingming smiled as he looked at Xiaofen in front of him. Damn, this girl was even prettier than before. If he wasn't so infatuated with her, he wouldn't mind playing with her for a while longer. You! Kong Mingming, what are you doing at my house?" Xiaofen stared at Kong Mingming in an unfriendly manner. If it was a month ago and Kong Xiaoming came looking for her, Xiaofen would probably be so happy that she wouldn't be able to control herself. But now, Xiaofen was nourished by a new love. She woke up from her infatuation and saw through Kong Mingming's character. She cut off all thoughts of him. When she saw Kong Mingming, it was like she was looking at a stranger. She couldn't even be compared to a stranger. After all, that hatred wasn't something that could be easily let go. This man had ruined her entire life. Although Kong Xiaobo treated her well and never despised her, Xiaofen always felt that she owed Kong Xiaobo. She couldn't give him a complete body. This made Xiaofen feel guilty whenever she thought about it. And the culprit that caused all this was Kong Mingming. Why would Xiaofen treat him nicely? Kong Mingming came alone. He didn't bring Wang Shubin and Zhu Xiaohong because he wanted to put on a show for Xiaofen. He needed to show enough sincerity in order to shut Xiaofen up. Bringing Zhu Xiaozhong and Wang Shubin was to show that he was a young master. So, he didn't bring any of them so that Xiaofen wouldn't feel bad about it. "Xiaofen, I came today to talk to you. Can you let me in first?" Kong Mingming said with a smile. He tried to make his words sound sincere. "There's nothing to talk about between us." Xiaofen shook her head and was about to close the door. Kong Mingming was shocked. He couldn't let Xiaofen close the door. Otherwise, wouldn't he come here for nothing? He quickly grabbed the door and said, "Xiaofen, don't close the door. I came today to apologize to you." "Apologize? Apologize for what?" Xiaofen frowned, but she didn't immediately close the door. "Xiaofen, I was young and frivolous in the past. I brought you a lot of pain. I came here today to apologize to you," Kong Mingming said with sincerity. Chapter 791. 500,000. However, Kong Mingming wasn't at ease when he heard those words. He had heard about Xiaofen's matter when he transferred to another school. Xiaofen was mentally ill because of him, so how could she not hate him? "Xiaofen, I'm really here to apologize sincerely today. Furthermore, I want to do my best to give you some compensation," Kong Mingming said. "When I passed by the slums, I saw that there was some kind of mobilization meeting. Your house is going to be demolished, right? I think that buying a new house requires money as well. Why don't you let me in first?" "What do you mean? You want to give me money?" Xiaofen felt that it was unbelievable. She had seen through how cruel and unscrupulous Kong Mingming was. Why did she find it hard to believe that Kong Mingming was going to give her money? "Yeah, I was the one who hurt you in the past. It's my fault. Your legs are broken now, and you need money to see a doctor. I'm going to pay you a sum of money in one go. It can be considered as my atonement for what I did in the past." Kong Mingming nodded. "Really?" Xiaofen was still in disbelief. Because Kong Mingming's words and actions today were too unbelievable. He was completely different from the Kong Mingming in the past. "Of course it's true," Kang Mingming nodded. Xiaofan, don't doubt my sincerity. Look, it's not good for me to stand at the door. You don't want others to hear what happened between us, right? That's not good. You have your own life now. Why don't we talk about these scandals in the house? You can say what you want to say here. All the neighbors in this building have gone to the mobilization meeting. Aside from me, there's no one else. Xiaofan still had no intention of letting Kang Mingming in. If that's the case, that's fine too. Kang Mingming thought that since they had already left, it would be the same to say it here. Thus, he continued, Xiaofan, we're adults now. Let's not talk about who was right and who was wrong in the past. I'll compensate you with 500,000. What do you think? 500,000? Xiaofan was shocked. Xiaofan already felt that it was inconceivable when Kang Mingming mentioned compensation. Now that he wanted to compensate another 500,000, Xiaofan started to doubt Kang Mingming's motive. Yes, but after you take the money, we need to sign a brief agreement. I hope that you won't tell anyone about what happened between us, including the people around you. Kang Maoming said. After all, your boyfriend is my cousin. It's not good for House Kang's reputation if you keep bringing up things like this. Kang Maoming said. That's it. Xiaofan was still a little doubtful. Kang Mingming's reason was reasonable, but the key question was there anyone in the Kang family who didn't know about this? During the birthday banquet last time, Kang Xiaoming seemed to have exposed his own weakness and revealed this matter, right? Yes, if you don't believe me, you can take a look at the agreement between us. As long as you can do these, then the 500,000 is yours. As Kang Mingming said this, he took out an agreement from his bag and passed it to Xiaofan. Xiaofan took a look at the agreement. It was exactly what Kang Mingming said. It was for her not to pursue the past matters, and not to mention the past matters to others. That was all, and she could get a one-time compensation of 500,000 from Kang Mingming. In fact, Xiaofan didn't pursue Kang Mingming's thoughts at all. She could only blame her own stupidity for the previous matters. If she really pursued it, what could she do to Kang Mingming? She couldn't pursue this kind of matter if one was willing to take the hit and the other was willing to take the hit. However, Xiaofan didn't want Kang Mingming's money. Although she was poor, she had a backbone. Lin Yi was Tang Yun's boyfriend, and Tang Yun would reject him even if he gave her money. Moreover, Kang Mingming was just an ex-boyfriend who hurt her. However, Xiaofan also knew that her family needed the money, so she couldn't make up her mind. She decided to give Kang Xiaobo a call to discuss it. Early in the morning, before Kang Xiaobo went to school, he called Lin Yi. Today, Jibing Real Estate was going to the slums to discuss the relocation. Kang Xiaobo was worried about Xiaofan, afraid that her family would be at a disadvantage. However, his words didn't carry much weight, and he knew that he wouldn't be able to do anything even if he went, so he asked Lin Yi to accompany him. Lin Yi drove Mingyao's Audi S5 today. Since the miss allowed him to drive, there was no reason for Lin Yi to reject. The car arrived at the school gate, and Lin Yi pressed the horn twice. Kang Xiaobo was stunned as he had never seen Lin Yi's car before. Boss, your car! Kang Xiaobo looked at Lin Yi's Audi S5 in surprise. Mingyao's. Lin Yi smiled. Get in, my car was blown up by Zihua. I was going to find him even if you didn't mention it. I'll go to the slums and ask him for money. The verbal agreement between Lin Yi and Zihua yesterday was no longer effective. After the car exploded, their relationship was torn apart. Zihua didn't believe that Lin Yi didn't know how the car exploded. As a result, their relationship entered a tense state again. The 5 million from before was wasted, and Lin Yi even wanted to ask for money for the car. Zihua blew up your car. Kang Xiaobo was surprised. It's a long story, Lin Yi said. Let's talk on the way. Boss, thank you so much. Kang Xiaobo was a little embarrassed. As a follower, not only did he not help his boss, but he also troubled Lin Yi every day. Now, he even needed to trouble Lin Yi for Xiaofan's family. It's nothing, I already said that I'm going to find Zihua. Lin Yi didn't think there was anything wrong with it. Linny had always been like this. He was very sincere to his friends and didn't ask for anything in return. In the car, Linny told Kang Xiaobo about how he accompanied Tang Yun's family to ask for money from Zihua. He also told Kang Xiaobo why the car was blown up. Damn! Xiaobo was shocked when he heard that the collapse of Qibing's skyscraper was caused by Linny again. His boss was a little too strong, wasn't he? Qibing's skyscraper was built twice and collapsed both times. Kang Xiaobo was completely speechless. Only Linny could do such a thing after collapsing Qibing's skyscraper and making them pay for the car. When they were about to reach the slums, Kang Xiaobo's phone rang. He took it out and saw that it was Xiaofan. Chapter 792. Promise him first. Xiaobo, Kang Mingming came to my house. Xiaofan had to discuss it with Kang Xiaobo as a form of respect for Kang Xiaobo. Kang Mingming? What's he doing here? Kang Xiaobo and Kang Ming had basically severed all ties with each other. Ever since Dr. Kang's birthday banquet, the two families had stopped interacting with each other. He said that he did something wrong to me and wants to compensate me by giving me 500,000. Xiaofan told Kang Xiaobo about Kang Mingming's intentions. Ah? What did you say? He came to your house to give you money? Kang Xiaobo was stunned. Did Kang Ming change his personality? It can't be, right? For someone like him to give money to Xiaofan, did he take the wrong medicine? Yes, and he even brought a contract with him. He said that he would give me the money if I sign it. Xiaofan said. The contract says that I can't look into what he did in the past, and I can't tell anyone about what happened between us. Xiaofan was a little embarrassed when she said that. After all, she felt that she had let Kang Xiaobo down. Kang Xiaobo frowned. He wanted Xiaofan to reject Kang Mingming. We're poor, but we're ambitious. Wouldn't it make us look weak if we take Kang Mingming's money? However, he knew that this wasn't the time to be impulsive. Xiaofan's family was lacking money, and Kang Xiaobo knew that as well. However, he was different from Lin Yi. He couldn't give too much help to Xiaofan's family, and this money was undoubtedly a timely help to Xiaofan's family that was facing demolition. Let me ask my boss and see what he says. Kang Xiaobo decided to ask for Lin Yi's opinion. If Lin Yi also insisted on not letting him take the money, then he would rather suffer a little. However, when Kang Xiaobo told Lin Yi about Xiaofan's words, Lin Yi didn't even think about it and said, Yes, do you still want free money? If he didn't want the enemy's money, he would be treating himself unfairly. But tell her not to sign the agreement just yet. Wait until we check it out and see if there's any problem. All right. Then I'll tell her now. Kang Xiaobo thought that Lin Yi was right. Why wouldn't he want his opponent's money? Didn't Lin Yi still chase after Zihua for money? Didn't he feel that it was inappropriate? It seemed like he was thinking too much. If he didn't want the enemy's money for the sake of face, that would be stupid. Kang Xiaobo quickly told Xiaofan about Lin Yi's intention and told her not to reject it. She just had to wait for her and Lin Yi to go over. Oh, okay. Xiaofan heard Kang Xiaobo say that Lin Yi wanted her to ask for money, and she felt grateful towards Lin Yi. This money was undoubtedly too important to her family. It was equivalent to sending charcoal in a snowy day. Even if Qibing Real Estate Company could compensate according to the standard, it was undoubtedly a drop in the bucket for the families. Because the housing prices in Songzhan weren't cheap, how could there be so many houses in remote areas for them to buy? If they followed the current compensation, they wouldn't be able to buy a new house at all. They could only rent a house and it wouldn't be convenient for them to live in that way. With this 500,000, Xiaofan's family would be able to buy a big house. Xiaofan was really afraid that Kang Xiaobo would ask her to reject it, so she could only reject it. Xiaobo said that he'll be here soon. Come in and wait for a while. I'll sign the contract with you when he's here and confirm it. Xiaofan got Kang Xiaobo's reply and calmed down. She let Kang Mingming into the house since it wasn't appropriate to stand in the hallway. Okay. Kang Mingming heard Xiaofan's words and immediately felt that there was a chance. He nodded happily. Don't worry, look at the contract and follow it from now on. We'll be even. Oh. Fan nodded and went into the room. She started reading her book and ignored Kang Xiaoming, who was sitting on the sofa. However, it didn't matter to Kang Mingming. It didn't matter if Xiaofan ignored him or not. As long as Xiaofan took the money and kept her mouth shut, he could successfully pursue Guan Xian. Kang Mingming felt extremely happy as he thought that his plan was about to come to fruition. Your house hasn't changed after so many years. It's still so broken, huh? Oh. Xiaofan frowned. She wanted to get angry, but she felt that it wasn't worth it to get angry at someone like Kang Mingming. She casually agreed and continued reading. A few years ago, Kang Mingming came to Xiaofan's house and said that he would buy a house for her family. Xiaofan was so touched that she gave her true love and body to him. In the end, Kang Mingming was done with her and felt that Xiaofan was a bit clingy. He was afraid that she would stick to him, so he quickly got rid of her. When Lin Yi drove past the shantytown, he saw a few big open-air tents and metal houses. The words, Demolition Office, and Qibing Real Estate's logo were written on it. However, Lin Yi didn't stop. He could ask Li Zihua for money at any time. The most important thing now was to go to Xiaofan's house and solve the problem of Kang Mingming. To be honest, Lin Yi didn't quite believe that Kang Xiaoming would be so kind as to compensate Fan on his own accord. With Kang Xiaoming's arrogant personality, there was no way he'd lower his head for no reason. This reminded Lin Yi of what happened yesterday. Li Zihua compensated Tang Yun's house for no reason. He must have some ulterior motives. That was why Lin Yi didn't let Xiaofan sign the agreement with Kang Mingming directly. He wanted to see it first. Boss, why do you think Kang Mingming would suddenly give money to Xiaofan? Would he have that kind of thoughts towards Xiaofan again? Kang Xiaobo also felt that something was wrong. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. Haha, that's not the case. If Kang Mingming went to look for Xiaofan, wouldn't he be slapping his own face? I think that he has a conspiracy, but we don't know what he's planning, Lin Yi said. Let's go and see. And Kang Xiaobo nodded. Now that Lin Yi was helping him, he felt at ease. When the car was about to reach Xiaofan's house, it couldn't go through. There were a few trenching machines and bulldozers blocking the road. Lin Yi frowned and pressed the horn twice. The drivers of the excavators and bulldozers were chatting by the roadside when they heard the car honk. They were a little annoyed at first, but when they saw Lin Yi's red Audi S5, they put on a smile. Someone who could drive a car like that had to be rich and powerful, and they couldn't afford to mess with them. Chapter 793. Kang Mingming's true purpose. If it was someone else, he wouldn't bother to explain, but Lin Yi was driving a sports car and looked like a rich kid. Who knew what his background was? He might even know the boss of the corporation, Master Bing. How would they dare to offend him? Demolish the building? Lin Yi was startled and looked at the direction they were pointing. Wasn't that Xiaofan's building? Xiaobo, on the other hand, was taken aback as well. These people wanted to tear down Fan's building? But Xiaofan was still at home. What should he do? Boss! Just as Kang Xiaobo opened his mouth, he was stopped by Lin Yi. He patted Kang Xiaobo's shoulder and gave him a comforting look. Oh, then when are you going to start? Lin Yi looked at Xiaofan's building and asked calmly. Who are you? Why are you asking so many questions? The driver looked at Lin Yi vigilantly. Oh, I want to wait for you guys to finish demolishing the building before going over. I'm going to the old house over there to get some stuff. Didn't you say that it's going to be demolished? I don't care about the compensation. I'll take the stuff away and you guys can demolish it however you want, Lin Yi said with the tone of a rich young master. Oh, we'll start at 8 o'clock sharp. It might be over at 10 o'clock. But we're only demolishing this building today. We won't demolish the old house. You can come and get it tomorrow, the driver said to Lin Yi after hearing what Lin Yi said. That's fine too. I'll come tomorrow. Lin Yi turned the car around and drove away. He circled around the shanty town and stopped at a hidden place. Boss, they're going to demolish the building. Xiaofan is still inside, Kang Xiaobo said anxiously. It's only 7:35. There's still 25 minutes left. We have enough time. Linny smiled and got off the car. Let's go and see Kong Ming Ming. But boss, why didn't you tell them that there's still someone in the building? Kong Ming Ming didn't understand. If I told them, there wouldn't be a good show. You'll know in a while, Linny said as he ran towards Fan's red brick 3-story building, entering the family's unit. Xiaobo didn't know what was going on, but seeing how confident Linny was, he didn't say anything else out of his trust in Linny. He followed Linny up the stairs in a hurry. Listen to me later, don't talk too much, Linny said as he knocked on the door. Okay, boss. Kong Xiaobo nodded. He would listen to Lin Yi's words unconditionally. Linny knocked on the door, and Xiaofan quickly came to open the door. When she saw Kong Xiaobo and Lin Yi, she was overjoyed. You're here! Kong Ming Ming also stood up from the sofa. When he saw Kong Xiaobo and Lin Yi, hatred flashed through his eyes, but he quickly hid it. Xiaobo, Lin Yi, I'm here to apologize to you with sincerity. Lin Yi naturally saw the hatred that flashed through Kong Ming Ming's eyes. He didn't believe that Kong Ming Ming was here to apologize with sincerity. Kong Ming Ming probably had an ulterior motive for coming here. Kong Xiaobo remembered Lin Yi's words. He didn't speak much and ignored Kong Ming Ming. Instead, he turned to look at Xiaofan. Xiaofan, are you all right? I'm fine. Kong Ming Ming came here and he was very polite. He didn't do anything overboard. Xiaofan shook her head. Kong Xiaobo was relieved. He was afraid that Kong Ming Ming would say some insulting words to provoke Xiaofan. Xiaofan had just recovered from her illness, so how could she endure any provocation? Kong Ming Ming, right? Just tell me what your motive is. Lin Yi sat on the sofa and looked at his watch. I'll give you 10 minutes. It was 7:40 p.m. right now. 10 minutes would be 7:50 p.m. There was still plenty of time. Kong Ming Ming was angry in his heart. What's with Lin Yi's attitude? I'm here to give you money, but you have this kind of attitude? You're really unreasonable. But seeing that Kong Xiaobo and Xiaofan didn't speak, it seemed like Lin Yi was still the leader here. If he wanted to achieve his motive, he had to talk to Lin Yi. He could only say, I feel that I owed Xiaofan in the past. So this time, I'm here to compensate her a sum of money. It can also be considered as making up for my previous mistake. Do you think I'll believe what you said? Lin Yi sneered. All right, just tell me what your motive is. Xiaofan doesn't need you to compensate her. Ugh! Kong Ming Ming was stunned. He didn't expect Lin Yi's attitude to be so unyielding. But he couldn't leave at this moment. How could he leave before he achieved his motive? In other words, he must give the money today. Kong Xiaobo and Xiaofan were also surprised by Lin Yi's unyielding attitude. Wasn't he chasing Kong Ming Ming away? Didn't he say that he would accept the money? But since Lin Yi was the leader here, they didn't interrupt and waited for Lin Yi to deal with it. All right, our Kong family is going to be promoted to a noble family soon. So I don't want to hear any rumors about me outside. Kong Xiaoming sighed and said, I don't want Fan to tell anyone about what happened between me and her, especially in public. For example, in the hospital, with the nurses and the like. Don't tell anyone. Lin Yi listened to Kong Ming Ming's half-truth and half-lies. He only understood his real motive when he heard the last sentence. Hospital nurse? Isn't that Guan Xian? Lin Yi sneered in his heart. This guy wanted to pursue Guan Xian, but he was afraid that Guan Xian would find out about the things he did in the past. Moreover, he might have seen that Xiaofan and Guan Xian knew each other. That's why he wanted to find Xiaofan to shut her mouth. 500,000 could be considered as a hush money. Isn't that enough? If you have a motive, just say it. Isn't it just hush money? All right, we'll accept it. Lin Yi waved his hand and said impatiently, Where's the money? It's so early in the morning. I don't have a place to withdraw money, but it's already in my bank card. Kong Ming Ming took out a bank card from his pocket and said to Lin Yi, In the bank card? How do we know if there's money in the card? Lin Yi didn't believe it. This? You can check at the bank. There's a bank nearby. Kong Mingming said. All right, we'll check at the bank first. If there's really money in it, we'll come back to sign the agreement. Lin Yi took the bank card from Kong Mingming's hand and said to him. Then I'll follow you? Kong Mingming wasn't assured. This is Xiaofen's house. Are you afraid that we won't come back? Lin Yi smiled. Chapter 794. There's someone else in the building. No problem, Lin Yi said. Since I promise you, I won't go back on my word. Your agreement is not binding, so since you can take out the money, you can only trust us. Kong Mingming thought that what Lin Yi said made sense. The agreement was just a formality. It really couldn't bind anything. Even if Xiaofen didn't say it, Lin Yi and Kong Xiaobo could still say it. You can't make everyone sign a confidentiality agreement, right? Thinking of this, Kong Mingming was relieved. Then I believe you. Come back quickly. Is there a TV here? Let me watch for a while. Yes, but the sunlight is too bright. Xiaofen, close the curtains and turn on the TV for Kong Mingming, Lin Yi said to Xiaofen. Although Xiaofen was curious as to why Lin Yi would treat Kong Mingming so well, she still did as she was told. The TV in Xiaofen's house was the most old-fashioned spherical 21-inch TV. It had long been obsolete, but it could still be put up with. Kong Mingming was happy and didn't mind. He sat on the sofa and watched the children's channel with great interest. Lin Yi brought Kong Xiaobo and Xiaofen downstairs. It was exactly 7:55 p.m., and the workers on the bulldozer and trenching machine were ready to come over to demolish the house. Kong Xiaobo finally understood what Lin Yi meant. He wanted to keep Kong Mingming in Xiaofen's house and wait for the bulldozer to demolish it. What the heck, isn't this too ruthless? Could it smash Kong Mingming to death? Kong Xiaobo looked pitifully at the 3-story building behind him and followed Lin Yi and Xiaofen to where Lin Yi parked his car. Before the three of them reached the car, they heard the sound of a bulldozer and trenching machine. Then, accompanied by a loud rumbling sound, half of the 3-story red brick building was pushed down in an instant. Ah! Xiaofen covered her mouth in shock as she watched in disbelief as her house was demolished in an instant. Find a bank and withdraw the money. Lin Yi wasn't in the mood to care about Kong Xiaoming's life or death. It was better if this kind of person died. He didn't kill him anyways. Let House Kong go find Zhao Qibing. But Kong Xiaoming. Xiaofen had never harmed anyone before. Seeing Kong Xiaoming get smashed in front of her, she couldn't accept it. And my house. I have to tell my parents. You already have 500,000, why care about your house? Kong Xiaobo was open-minded. It's better to smash someone like Kong Mingming to death. Who asked him to hurt you so deeply? Xiaofen sighed. Since Kong Xiaobo said so, she could only nod. If she said too much, it would make Kong Xiaobo think that she still had feelings for Kong Mingming. Lin Yi drove Xiaofen and Kong Xiaobo to a bank and withdrew the money smoothly. It was an anonymous savings card. He didn't know what Kong Mingming was thinking. Why did he hand over the money so easily? He used Xiaofen's name to open an account, and the 500,000 fell into Xiaofen's pocket. Lin Yi, on the other hand, drove back to the slums. At this time, in the slums, the residents of the 3-story red brick building were in an uproar. They didn't expect that Sihua would dare to demolish their house after what happened to Tang Yin's house. And this time, it wasn't a 1-story house, but a 3-story red brick building. Standing beside Sihua, Gubong, and Fabai was a group of bulky men dressed in black with sunglasses on. The residents of the 3-story red brick building were displeased, but they didn't dare make a move. Sihua, Gubong, and Fabai were standing beside a group of bulky men. Xiaofen's parents thought that since their house was a building, they could at least ask for more compensation, right? When the time came, they would ask Mrs. Tang to ask Lin Yi for help and see if they could get a cheaper house with a better location. The residents of the other buildings had similar thoughts. Since their house was a building, shouldn't they get more compensation? But now, these people's dreams were shattered. Their houses were gone, and they didn't even have the capital to negotiate. They had to take the money, even if they didn't want it. What else could they do? Of course, this was secondary. When they saw that their house was demolished, the first thing that came to their parents' mind was that Xiaofan was still at home. What would happen to Xiaofan if the house was demolished? Xiaofan's mother wanted to run home like crazy, and so did Xiaofan's father. They followed the residents of the 3-story red brick building and ran home together. The first thought of the residents of the slums who had their houses demolished was to run home as well. Their furniture and appliances were still in their houses, and they wanted to save as much as they could, right? However, they were all blocked by the burly men. These burly men wouldn't let them go back. People had almost died during the previous demolition, so there was no way Sihua was going to let them get away this time around. That was why he got some of Zhong Fabai's men to stop them. "Let me go back, my daughter is still in the building, move away!" Xiaofan's mother ignored the burly men's obstruction and tried to push them away, rushing out of the human wall. The burly man panicked after being pushed by Xiaofan's mother. He grabbed her hair and pushed her back. How could Xiaofan's mother be a match for the burly man? She screamed in pain as a bunch of her hair was pulled out, and her face was slapped by the burly man. "Stay here if you don't want to die!" "Mom!" Xiaofan saw her mother being beaten up by a burly man just as she got out of the car. She was so scared that she was on the verge of tears. She didn't care about her weak legs and quickly ran towards her mother. Kang Xiaobo, on the other hand, was worried about Xiaofan, and seeing his future mother-in-law being beaten up, he was furious as well. He wanted to fight the burly man with his life. Naturally, Linny wouldn't let Kang Xiaobo be at a disadvantage. He wasn't a match for these burly men. Linny locked the car and rushed over with Kang Xiaobo. Before Kang Xiaobo could make a move, he kicked the waist of the burly man who was beating up Xiaofan's mother. The kick sent the man flying, and he landed on the ground with a bang. His eyes rolled back and he fainted. Kang Xiaobo knew that Linny was strong, but he didn't expect Linny to be able to create such a strong effect with just one kick. He was surprised, but he didn't forget to remind Linny. "Boss, be careful!" The other burly men didn't expect Linny to rush over and start beating people up, and in such a ruthless manner. They immediately stopped what they were doing and surrounded Linny. Chapter 795. Linny came again. Why the hell was he so unlucky? Of all people, he had to hit the mother of Lin Yi's woman. How could Lin Yi not be angry? And the agreement he made with Lin Yi yesterday was automatically nullified with the explosion of the bomb. His relationship with Lin Yi had once again fallen to a freezing point. It was reasonable for Lin Yi to come here and cause trouble. However, Zhong Fabai's men actually wanted to surround Lin Yi, and Sihua was immediately afraid. "Damn it, you guys don't know what's good for you." Lin Yi was a master that even a mystic class master had to rest in bed. You idiots still want to cause trouble for Lin Yi? Aren't you looking for death? Besides, if these people were beaten down by Lin Yi, then the slums wouldn't need to be demolished. If the men who intimidated the residents were beaten up by Lin Yi, who else could be intimidated? "Stop!" Sihua couldn't help but yell as he sprinted over. However, Sihua was a step too late. One of the men who was on good terms with the man who was kicked by Lin Yi wanted to avenge him, and made a move first. The result was the same as the previous man. He was sent flying and crashed into the body of the previous man. His eyes rolled, and it was unknown if he was dead or alive. Sihua ran over, sweating profusely. He couldn't help but sigh. "Lin Yi, why are you here? Didn't we agree yesterday that you wouldn't interfere with the slum's demolition?" "I didn't interfere. My friend's girlfriend's mother was beaten up, and I can't fight back?" Lin Yi didn't put Sihua in his eyes at all. He was too lazy to explain. "Where's my car money? You blew up my car, when are you going to pay me?" The men under Zhong Fabai were dumbfounded. On one hand, they were afraid of Lin Yi's skills. Before they could see what was going on, two of them were already down. On the other hand, it was strange that Lin Yi dared to speak to Sihua with such an attitude. Wasn't he afraid of the power behind Sihua? "Naturally, I won't forget your money." Sihua sighed inwardly at his bad luck. She just had to hit the mother of Lin Yi's little brother's girlfriend. Although their relationship was complicated, it was understandable for Lin Yi to intervene. I will pay for the medical fees. Oh, what about the demolition fees? Lin Yi continued to ask. I will pay the demolition fees according to the rules, Sihua said through gritted teeth. This was one of the conditions he'd promised Lin Yi, and now that Lin Yi wouldn't interfere, this was the only compensation he could offer. If Lin Yi were to interfere again, he'd have to call it quits. In the face of a tyrant like Lin Yi, Sihua really had no temper at all. He couldn't kill him in the open, so he played dirty and blew up his building. He couldn't afford to offend this person for now, but couldn't he just hide from him? Oh, alright, I'm here to supervise you. Lin Yi nodded. It was just a small matter for him, but for the residents of the slums, it was a huge benefit. According to the standard compensation, although they couldn't use the compensation money to buy a new house, at least they could afford a loan to buy a house. It was also a psychological comfort for them. Xiaofen's parents were relieved when they saw that Xiaofen was fine. Xiaofen's mother also forgot the pain on her face. She hugged Xiaofen lovingly. Child, it's good that you're fine. You scared me to death. It's Xiaobo and Lin Yi who saved me. Xiaofen sighed. But Kang Mingming might be dead. Kang Mingming? Crushed to death? How did he die? Is that true? If he's smashed to death, it'll be a great thing. Xiaofen's mother was stunned for a moment before she said happily. Looking at her mother's expression, Xiaofen knew that her mother hated Kang Mingming to the core. She was actually so happy when she heard that he was dead. Although Xiaofen hated Kang Xiaoming, she felt bad for not stopping him when she saw him getting crushed to death with her own eyes. She could have saved him, but she didn't. She was a kind person. Even if Kang Mingming did some unforgivable things to her, Xiaofen never thought of killing him. Sigh, it's a long story. Xiaofen told her mother about Kang Mingming's visit this morning, including the fact that Kang Mingming compensated her with 500,000. Are you serious? He gave you 500,000? It seems like he's not a bad person. Xiaofen's mother was stunned. She didn't expect Kang Mingming to compensate her daughter 500,000. He wasn't completely heartless, but he still had some conscience. She was envious of Tang Jiuqing's mother's family, saying that Tang Jiuqing's leg was broken and they actually paid 3 million. Xiaofen's leg was broken too, but no one paid. She didn't expect it to become reality today. Life was really magical. Sometimes, things would change overnight. I don't know, but he told Lin Yi that it's hush money. He doesn't want me to mention the past with him in front of others. Xiaofen said to her mother. Lin Yi said that Kang Mingming wanted to woo Nurse Guan Xin in the hospital. He was afraid that I would cause trouble for him, so he gave me 500,000. Ah? Is that so? A dog can't stop eating sh*t. Xiaofen's mother was furious when she heard that Kang Mingming gave her money. Then we should take this money. It's a waste if we don't take it. We should take all the money from this kind of person in the future. Xiaofen heard that her mother said the same. She didn't feel the pressure in her heart anymore and nodded. Fen's mother was very happy. Lin Yi's arrival had forced Sihua to compensate the slums residents according to the standards, and they'd gotten 500,000 out of nowhere. It was a pleasant surprise, and it was more than enough to buy a big house with this amount of money. They'd even have money left for appliances, furniture, and renovations. She decided to look for Tang Jiuqing's mother in the afternoon and asked her to bring her to see a house. Her house was already gone, so she had to settle this matter as soon as possible. On the other side, Sihua's tone suddenly changed. He wanted to compensate the slums residents according to the standard. The slums residents who were harassed stopped making a fuss. In fact, their request was very simple. As long as they could compensate according to the standard, it would be enough. They didn't expect a rich and powerful real estate company like Sihua to compensate them more money. In fact, they didn't dare to go against Sihua. Sihua's name was very famous in Songzhan. He was the boss of the underworld. Chapter 796. A tragedy for Kong Ming Ming. Just as he was thinking about it, Kong Ming Ming suddenly felt that the ground was trembling. Was it an earthquake? In the next moment, an even stronger tremor came. Kong Ming Ming felt as if the house was hit by a meteor. He staggered from the tremor. Kong Ming Ming ran to the window subconsciously. He was shocked to see a few trenching machines and forklifts pushing the house he was in. "Hey! There's someone in the house!" Kong Ming Ming panicked and shouted at the window. However, the noise from the trenching machines and bulldozers was so loud that no one could hear Kong Ming Ming's voice. It was drowned out by the noise. "Don't demolish it! There's someone in the house! Hey, hey, hey!" Kong Ming Ming almost peed in his pants. "There's someone in here!" No one bothered. In fact, no one could hear Kong Ming Ming's voice. "F***ck your second uncle! I'm still in the house!" Kong Ming Ming panicked and shouted at the top of his lungs. However, no one could hear his voice. Kong Ming Ming was out of ideas. He could only think of a way himself. If he jumped from the third floor, he would probably die. Even if he didn't die, he would be crippled. Kong Ming Ming wouldn't do such a stupid thing. However, it was too late for him to go down the stairs. The bulldozers downstairs had already destroyed all the doors. Kong Ming Ming thought for a long time and couldn't think of any good ideas. He didn't expect himself to be so unlucky. Why was he forced to demolish his house when he was waiting for Xiaofan to come back? He lived in a wealthy family and had never experienced something like this. He never thought that such misfortune would happen to him. Kong Ming Ming was out of ideas. He was afraid of being crushed to death. He could only crawl under the bed. He heard that it was safe under the bed during an earthquake. In an instant, the 3-story red brick building became a pile of rubble. Zhu Xiaoang and Wang Shubing waited for a while. Kong Ming Ming didn't come back. They became anxious and dialed Kong Ming Ming's number. The phone rang more than 10 times, but no one picked up. Even after the phone automatically hung up, no one picked up. Wang Shubing was anxious. He dialed again and waited for a while. Finally, someone picked up. Kong Ming Ming was buried in a pile of rubble. Fortunately, Xiaofan's house was on the top floor. If it was on the first or second floor, no matter how sturdy the bed was, it wouldn't have been able to withstand the pressure. Before, the house had completely collapsed. Kong Ming Ming only felt that his head hit something and fainted. When he woke up again, he was woken up by the ringing of his phone. Kong Ming Ming subconsciously reached for his phone. He felt a sharp pain in his legs. It seemed like they were broken. However, Kong Ming Ming was glad that he didn't die. "Hey! Wang Shubing, come and save me! Xiaofan's house was demolished. I'm in the rubble now. I think my legs are broken. It hurts." Kong Ming Ming cried as he picked up the phone. "Ah? Master Ming, wait for me. We'll go now." Wang Shubing was shocked when he heard Kong Ming Ming's words. Why was Xiaofan's house demolished? Why was Kong Ming Ming still inside? Wang Shubing and Zhu Xiaozhang called the police and the ambulance. Then, they ran to the demolition office and found Sihua, who was negotiating with the owner of the house. "Our boss was buried inside the building. Who's the person in charge here?" Zhu Xiaozhang shouted arrogantly as he entered the office. Sihua thought that someone was trying to kill him. He raised his head and saw that it was Zhu Xiaozhang. He frowned. He knew this Zhu Xiaozhang. He was a follower of Dr. Kang's family, Kong Ming Ming. When the Qibing skyscraper was completed, Kong Ming Ming brought Zhu Xiaozhang and Wang Shubing to participate. "Zhu Xiaozhang, what are you doing?" Sihua wasn't afraid of him. Even if Dr. Kang's family was famous, House Xiao was much more powerful than House Kong. "Ah? Sihua bro?" Although Zhu Xiaoang knew that Zhao Qibing was in charge of the slums, he thought that it was a small fry. He didn't expect it to be Sihua. But even if it was Sihua, he still had to say, "Sihua bro, my boss, Kong Ming Ming, is in that 3-story red brick building over there. You guys just demolished the building." Sihua's head buzzed. Kong Ming Ming was still in that building? What was Kong Ming Ming doing there? Although House Zhao wasn't afraid of House Kong, they had to give an explanation for smashing Kong Ming Ming to death. This wasn't like smashing an ordinary person. House King's influence was huge. House Zhao even had to buy a batch of golden creation from House Kong every year. What? Kong Ming Ming is still there? Sihua asked hurriedly. Yeah, we've already called the police and the ambulance. Hurry up and tell those demolition workers to stop. My boss is still alive, but his leg is broken, Zhu Xiaong said. Sihua let out a sigh of relief when he heard that Kong Ming Ming wasn't dead. As long as he wasn't dead, everything would be fine. He just had to pay a sum of money for the broken leg. House Kong wouldn't say anything about it. Gubong, Feng Bai, you guys stay here and take care of the compensation agreement. I'll go take a look. Sihua felt that today was really a bad day. He had just settled the matter with Lin Yi, and now Kong Ming Ming of House Kong was smashed. After settling the matters here, Sihua, Wang Shubing, and Zhu Xiaozhang ran towards the 3-story red brick building. Fortunately, Zihua's order was only to demolish the red brick building, so the trenching machine and bulldozer didn't do anything else after demolishing the building. Otherwise, if they pushed the building a few more times, Kong Ming Ming would be dead. The police's rescue was timely. Soon, Kong Ming Ming was carried out of the rubble by the firemen. At this moment, Kong Ming's face was covered in blood. After a preliminary check, only his head was smashed, and his legs were broken. There were no other problems. It was a blessing in disguise. Sihua stayed behind to cooperate with the police investigation, while Wang Shubing and Zhu Xiaozhang followed the ambulance and sent Kong Ming Ming to the First People's Hospital. At this moment, Sihua wasn't afraid of anything. He had already reached an agreement with the residents of the building. Even if the police were to investigate, it wouldn't matter. As for Kong Ming Ming's incident, it was just an accident. Kong Ming Ming had a bitter expression on his face as he lay in the ambulance, moaning in pain. He had never suffered like this since he was young. Now that both his legs were broken, it was unimaginable pain. Fuck, Sihua, I won't let you go, Kong Ming Ming said fiercely. Chapter 797. Did he do it on purpose? I'll remember this. When House Kong becomes strong, I'll make them pay. Kong Ming Ming was just saying it. He couldn't do anything to Zhao Qibing. Master Zhaoming, but I think this is a blessing in disguise. Wang Shubin shook his head and said to Kong Zhaoming. Oh? What do you mean? Is my broken leg a good thing? Kong Ming Ming froze. He was so angry that he wanted to curse. This Wang Shubing, he didn't know how to persuade people. Master Ming, think about it. Didn't you want to get a serious injury before? Wang Shubing said. Look, isn't there one now? It's an accident, and Guan Xian won't suspect anything. Now that you mention it, it really is the case. Kong Ming Ming heard Wang Shubing's words and became happy again. Wang Shubing, you're right. My broken leg is a good thing. This time, I can go to Guan Xian directly. Yeah, Master Ming, and Li Zihua said that he'll compensate you for your medical expenses. This way, not only will you be able to get close to Guan Xian, but you'll also get money. This is killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Wang Shubing nodded. If we hurt ourselves, not only would we suffer, no one would compensate us. Ha! Then I'm so lucky. Ha ha! Today is my lucky day. I got so many things done, and I even got money. Wahahaha! Kong Ming Ming laughed when he heard that. The ambulance screamed all the way to the hospital, and Kong Zhaoming was carried on a stretcher to the emergency room. Although Kong Ming Ming's injuries weren't light, he was still very happy. He was going to suffer anyway, and this was a good thing. He got himself a serious injury, and now Kong Ming Ming would be able to get close to Guan Xian. Other than the broken leg, Kong Ming Ming didn't have any other internal injuries. The surgery was done quickly, and Kong Ming Ming was pushed to the sick room to rest. Where's Guan Xian? Why isn't she here yet? Kong Ming Ming was lying in the sick room, and he was eager to try. Look at my face and legs. It's so serious. Hurry and get Guan Xian here. Master Ming, I'll go right now. Wang Shubing nodded. He thought that Guan Xian couldn't decline this time, could she? Thus, Wang Shubing rushed out of the sick room to find Guan Xian. He thought that this was Guan Xian's responsibility after all. Coincidentally, Guan Xian was still in the nurse's room. Wang Shubing ran in, and when he saw Guan Xian, he was overjoyed. Nurse Guan Xian, you're here! Master Ming is injured, and we need your help. Look, we don't have any friends in the hospital. Can you go and take a look? Guan Xian didn't think that Kong Ming wouldn't stop. He came looking for her every day. Why was this person so annoying? Was there an end to it? Are there no other nurses to take care of him? I didn't receive any notice to take care of Kong Ming. Guan Xian pointed at her work schedule and explained patiently. Regardless of whether Kong Ming was annoying or not, Guan Xian couldn't throw a tantrum. Guan Xian knew that she was a member of the hospital, and anything she said or did could affect the hospital's image. Especially when her father was a shareholder of the hospital. Guan Xian had to be strict with herself and not let others talk behind her back. Even if not many people knew Guan Xian's real identity, Guan Xian didn't want to bring shame to her father and grandfather. No, Master Ming is lying in the sick room, and I didn't see any nurses come to take care of him. I don't know who to look for, you're the only one I know here. Wang Shubing started to talk nonsense. No one cares? Guan Xian was taken aback. Seriously? Could it be that someone was negligent? This kind of thing wasn't impossible. The hospital sent too many patients at the same time. If there were careless doctors and nurses, then they might really have neglected a patient. Although Guan Xian felt that the guy Wang Shubing was talking about was more likely, it was a matter of life and death. Even if Guan Xian knew that it was fake, she couldn't ignore it because of her duty as a nurse and the family she represented. But didn't Kong Ming just have a cold? Also, he had a small cut on his hand. Both of these illnesses weren't fatal. Yes, could you please go and take a look? Can you help bandage it first and then contact a doctor? Wang Shubing nodded. But didn't he stay in the hospital for a few days because of a cold? Why should I bandage it? This isn't under my jurisdiction, right? Guan Xian changed the topic and said sarcastically, could it be that the wound on his hand acted up again? Wang Shubing suddenly remembered that he was in a hurry, and didn't tell her the whole story. No wonder Guan Xian didn't know what happened. He quickly explained. It's like this, Master Ming's cold is cured, and the wound on his hand is also healed. He was discharged from the hospital today. Then why is he bandaging it? Guan Xian was even more confused. After he was discharged, Master Ming went to the shanty town to do some work, but he ran into a developer who was forcefully demolishing the place. As a result, my boss was hospitalized. Both of his legs are broken, and his head is also injured. It's really miserable. Nurse Guan Xian, could you please go and take a look? Wang Shubing said pitifully. Ah? Guan Xian heard Wang Shubing's words and suddenly froze. No way? How could it be so coincidental? He just left the hospital and he's here again. Could it be that Kong Ming got hit on purpose? It wasn't strange for Guan Xian to think this way. When she first met Kong Ming was still full of energy, but then he was hospitalized with a cold. He came to find her to give him an injection. When he heard that she wasn't responsible for the injection, he made a wound and asked her to bandage it. When he heard that his wound was very small and didn't need to be bandaged, he made another serious injury today. Therefore, Guan Xian couldn't help but think that Kong Ming purposely injured himself to get close to her. If that was the case, Guan Xian felt that Kong Ming was an idiot. Was there something wrong with his brain to chase after a girl like that? He should go see a psychiatrist or a neurologist. Nurse Guan Xian, you're the only person we know in this hospital. Could you please go and take a look? Wang Shubing saw that Guan Xian was shocked and quickly continued. Chapter 798. My family's fake Wang Shubin happily brought Guan Xian to Kang Xiaoming's room when he saw that Guan Xian had agreed. Kang Mingming was overjoyed when he saw that Wang Shubin really brought Guan Xian. In order to arouse Guan Xian's maternal instincts and make her sympathize with him, Kang Mingming started to cry. It hurts, my face, my legs. Guan Xian didn't think that a grown man like Kang Mingming would be so fragile, crying in pain. Isn't the bandaging good? How come no one's taking care of it? Guan Xian saw that both of Kang Mingming's legs were in plaster casts and splints. It was already taken care of. It wasn't Wang Shubin who said that no one was taking care of him. I mean no one's coming to take care of him. Wang Shubin laughed dryly. He wanted to trick Guan Xian into coming here first. As for what happened after she came, he would just play it by ear. His legs aren't normal injuries anymore, it's too serious. It's already considered orthopedic care. I can't do that, there's a professional orthopedic nurse to take care of it, Guan Xian said. I'll help him contact an orthopedic nurse. Ah? Kang Mingming was dumbfounded. How come it's too heavy? The small cut was too light, and now it's too heavy. It's already upgraded to orthopedic care? But this wasn't something he could control. He didn't want to break his legs. Kang Mingming was furious. He wanted to curse the people who did the demolition work in the slums. Why did they have to hit him so hard? Wouldn't Guan Xian be able to take care of him if they hit him a little lighter? Why did he miss out on Guan Xian again? Wasn't he too unlucky? That Master Ming's legs will be taken care of by an orthopedic nurse, but I'm talking about the wound on his head. The wound on his head is also very serious. What if it's not treated properly and it leaves a scar? Wang Shubin's eyes lit up. He shifted his attention to Kang Mingming's face. Nurse Guan Xian, look at how handsome Master Ming is. If he gets disfigured, he won't be able to face people in the future, right? We can't trust anyone else, so we can only trust an acquaintance like you. Kang Mingming was overjoyed when he heard Wang Shubin's words. This Wang Shubin was indeed a strategist. His mind was fast. Just like that, he thought of a way to keep Guan Xian? Even he didn't expect it. That's right, his leg was too serious, but his head wasn't. It was just a big hole, wasn't that Guan Xian's area of responsibility? So he quickly echoed. Yes, it's still our own people who are sure of it. If it's an outsider, I won't be so careful. I don't want to be disfigured. Oh, I can't do it without leaving a wound. Guan Xian pouted. I'm not Dr. Kang, I don't have Dr. Kang's golden creation. My family's miracle Dr. Kang's golden creation medicine is fake, it's not effective. If you're afraid of leaving a scar, you should apply some Dr. Kang's golden creation medicine. It's very effective, and you have plenty of it at home. Huh? Kang Mingming suddenly remembered that his family's Dr. Kang's golden creation medicine was the bane of external injuries. Moreover, Guan Xian's words were filled with sarcasm. Kang Mingming knew that it was a counterattack to what he said in the bookstore that day. Kang Ming immediately regretted it. He didn't know what medicine he took that day in the bookstore. He actually forgot about the relationship between Guan Xian and Miracle Dr. Guan. Not only did he leave a bad impression on Guan Xian, but he also couldn't change his words. Most importantly, there was no way he could change his words. He couldn't just say that Miracle Dr. Guan was better than Miracle Dr. Kang, could he? Wouldn't that be tarnishing his own family's reputation? Alright, if there's nothing else, I'll be leaving. Our hospital's facilities are limited. We can't get Dr. Kang's golden creation medicine. You should prepare it yourself. Guan Xian said and left the room. Now she could confirm that Kang Mingming was looking for trouble. He purposely sent Wang Shubin to find her. What he said about no one taking care of him was all bullsh*t. Kang Mingming was a little dispirited as he laid on the bed. Why was he so unlucky? He thought that after he settled Xiaofan, he could easily pursue Guan Xian. But now it seemed that Guan Xian didn't have a good impression of him. Fuck, why am I so unlucky? Kang Ming Ming cursed angrily. Master Ming, I think it's because Guan Xian's already on guard. Wan Shubbing frowned and said carefully. When I went to find her, she sarcastically told me that the wound on your hand had relapsed. Obviously, she didn't believe in such a coincidence. You get sick every day, and this time is a little too close. That's true. Kang Ming Ming nodded. If he thought about it carefully, this illness happened a little too often. It was hard to guarantee that no one would suspect him. As long as it was a normal person, they would find it unbelievable. But Kang Ming Ming couldn't say it out loud. The previous 2 times were caused by himself, but this time, it was an accident. But the lesson from the boy who cried wolf was still very deep. Guan Xian didn't believe it anymore. No matter how sick Kang Ming Ming was, it was all an act in Guan Xian's eyes. He couldn't do anything about it. Master Ming, if you can't do it, how about we change tactics? Wan Shubbing hesitated. Change tactics? Change what tactics? Kang Ming Ming was a little angry. Then wouldn't I be injured for nothing? Why don't you try this pain instead? This? We still need to think about what to change tactics. But the situation right now is that you're injured, and Guan Xian doesn't believe you. Wan Shubbing smiled bitterly. Kang Ming Ming suddenly lost his breath. Yeah, so what if he was suffering for nothing? Guan Xian didn't believe it anymore. She was already suspicious. If they continued, it would be the opposite of what they wanted. It looked like they really had to change tactics. But what tactics should they change? Kang Ming Ming felt that all the methods he used to pick up girls were useless. Before, all he had to do was send flowers, sweet talk, act cool, and bring the girl to the store to spend some money. Then it would be a piece of cake. But Guan Xian didn't fall for it. Sending flowers didn't have any effect. Sweet talk didn't seem to interest Guan Xian. Acting cool didn't even need to be said. Guan Xian's family wasn't bad either. She definitely wouldn't lack his money to buy things for her. Why don't you go online and see if there are any good tactics? Kang Ming Ming heard that there were a lot of people sharing their experiences in picking up girls. But he rarely went online, so he didn't know if there were any. That's fine, I'll go check it out later. Wan Shubbing nodded. See if there are any good tactics, but I feel like you're lacking common topics with Guan Xian. You guys don't have much to talk about together. Chapter 799. Nervous you family? It's not that she has to be a nurse. Ming bro, we can find out about Guan Xian's hobbies and do what she likes. Wan Shubbing said. Being a nurse is just her occupation. I don't believe that she doesn't like to study other things, right? Yeah. Shubbing, you're too smart. Your words are like thunder in my ears. You've enlightened me. Kang Ming Ming said happily. Isn't Weibo popular now? Can you see if you can find Guan Xian's Weibo and see if she has any hobbies? All right, leave this matter to me. Wan Shubbing remembered the greedy nurse from yesterday. He would ask her again today and give her some benefits. He didn't believe that he couldn't find out anything. Yanjing City, House Yu's courtyard. Yukun was lying on a bed with bandages all over his body. A beautiful middle-aged woman was wiping her tears while a man was pacing around the room with a worried face. Your son was beaten up like this. Why aren't you going to take revenge? Why are you pacing around? The beautiful woman was annoyed as she shouted at the man. She sounded like she was about to cry. House Yu is so arrogant. Now that they're being bullied, you've lost your temper? You Bai, do you care about your son or not? Stop arguing! The man called Yu Bai waved his hand impatiently. Am I not worried? I don't even know who hurt Yu Kun. He's been unconscious since he came back. All the meridians in his body were broken. He's a cripple now. I'm more worried than you. But what can we do? We still have to wait for my second brother to decide. The beautiful woman was speechless after being yelled at by Yu Bai. She sat on the bed and wiped her tears. House Yu had been in the martial world for so many years, and they had never been hit like this before. This sudden disaster seemed to be far away from House Yu. All the noble houses in the common world, no one dared to disrespect House Yu, and no one dared to hurt House Yu. But now, not only did he injure Yukuin, he even caused permanent damage to him. He destroyed all of Yukuin's kung fu, turning him into a cripple. He could no longer practice spiritual techniques. Even if he practiced external techniques, it would be hard for him to achieve anything. Yukuin was second only to the head of House Yu's son. They had high hopes for him. But now, he was injured so badly that no one knew if he was dead or alive. At this time, a middle-aged man pushed the door open and walked in. There was a young man next to him. He looked very similar to Yukuin, but there was an arrogant look on his face. This middle-aged man was the middle-aged man from House Yu that had appeared at the auction, the current head of House Yu, Yu Bifu. He had the strength of a mystic late-phase peak, just one step away from Earth class. The young man next to him was his son, Yu Feng. He was second only to Yu Bifu in House Yu. He was at the peak of the early phase of mystic class. "Second brother, you are here! You have to help my little Kuin." The beautiful woman saw Yu Bifu walk in and quickly stood up. She cried out, "Little Kuin's meridians have been destroyed. He is now a cripple. He will never be able to practice again. You have to kill the person who hurt him." "That's right, little Kuin." Yu Bifu was shocked when he heard that Yu Kuin was injured. 2 days ago, Yu Kuin called him and said that he was injured. Then, there was no more news. Yu Bifu was shocked. He quickly sent people to Songzhan to find Yu Kuin and bring him back to Yanjing. When House Yu found Yu Kuin was already unconscious. When they returned, House Yu's doctor quickly tried to save Yu Kuin, but the result wasn't good. His life was saved, but his martial arts were all gone. His meridians were all broken. He was now a cripple. When Yu Bifu heard the bad news, he rushed over with his son. "We don't even know who hurt Yu Kuin. How can you talk about revenge?" Yu Bifu frowned. "Xiao Kuan already has the strength of a late-phase golden class. In this world, there aren't many people who can harm him. And those who can harm him are all friends of our Yu clan. Who would dare to make a move? This?" Yu Bide was curious as well. Who was it that injured Yu Kuin? Logically speaking, those old men in the common world had a good relationship with House Yu. It couldn't have been them. And the hidden families were forbidden from interfering with the affairs of the world. "Bide, you don't have to be too sad. Our House Yu is rich in resources. We have martial arts treasures. As long as Yu Kuin can keep his life, there is hope. He can still make a name for himself by practicing martial arts," Yu Bifu said. "When the time comes, I will use all the wealth of the family to help him practice." "Thank you, second brother. That's the only way," Yu Bide sighed. This was the best outcome since things had come to this. "There's something fishy about this. Yu Kuin went to investigate the whereabouts of the map, but he was injured. As far as I know, the strongest physical practitioner in Songzhan, Li Fu, is only at the peak of the late phase of golden class. Physical practitioners are one level lower than spiritual practitioners. In other words, he could only fight evenly with Yu Kuin. If he didn't have a deep grudge against Yu Kuin, he wouldn't fight him head-on," Yu Bifu said. "I feel that the person who beat Yu Kuin up like this is at least a spiritual practitioner at the peak of the late phase of golden class. Second brother, do you think it could be someone from the hidden Zhao family who did this?" Yu Bide suddenly asked. "I heard that the illegitimate son of House Zhao, Zhao Qibing, has been jumping around in Songzhan recently. He's doing demolition and building houses. House Zhao probably saw that a branch of House Yu was making money in the world and couldn't wait. Besides, House Zhao has never been on good terms with House Yu. Could it be that they hurt Yu Kuin? After all, only they have such strength. That's hard to say. It's possible. But I heard that the Fire Wolf gang is also active in Songzhan," Yu Bifu said. "Songzhan is a small place, yet there are so many forces. It's really complicated. If we don't handle it well, we'll be caught in the middle of the storm. This doesn't benefit House Yu. Whether it's House Zhao or the Fire Wolf gang, they are not people that our House Yu can fight against." Chapter 800. Did Big Brother break through? Big Brother just entered Earth class last year. He hasn't gotten a firm foothold there yet. Only when he reaches the middle phase of Earth class will he be able to have a say in the family. Asking him for help will only make things difficult for him. Yubifu shook his head. Right, Bide, how's your training going? It's still the same. I've been stuck at the early phase of Mystic class. I've placed all my hopes on Kun, but who would have thought that such a disaster would come? Bide shook his head sadly. It seems that in this generation of our Yu clan, only Big Brother can enter that place. Yubifu sighed. I think that in this lifetime, it will be very difficult for me to break through to the Earth grade, second brother, according to what you said, little Kun's matter. Bide paused for a moment and looked at Yubifu. Don't worry, Kun is my nephew. I've already sent people to Songzhan to investigate. If there's any news, I'll report back immediately, Yubifu said. That's the only way. Bide nodded. Yubifu brought Yufeng out of Bide's room. After walking for a while, Yufeng said, Father, I've said it before, Kun can't do it anymore. Let me go. Is this good? He's been crippled. But it's good. In the future, no one in our generation will be able to surpass me. What nonsense are you talking about? He's your cousin, how can it be good? Yubifu said angrily. Isn't it better to have more masters in our house? I'm sorry. Yufeng wasn't convinced. He's too weak. If I had personally gone, he wouldn't have ended up like this. To be able to injure Yukun without killing him means that he's only at the peak of the late phase of Golden class. I'm already at the peak of the early phase of Mystic class. With this strength, I can do whatever I want in the common world. You have to know that there's always someone better than you out there. Yubifu glared at his son. I know, but those powerful people don't appear in the common world anymore. Yufeng didn't take his father's words seriously. He was the leader of the younger generation in House Yu. In the outside world, he was also a domineering existence. Even the heads of the other houses didn't have his strength. How could he not be arrogant? Lin Yi didn't want to interfere with the relocation of the slums, but because of his appearance, Zihua increased the compensation amount. Zihua didn't want to interfere either, but he was afraid that Lin Yi would cause trouble. Xiaofan's family successfully received the compensation of 180,000 renminbi, which was considered quite high. As for those broken appliances and furniture, they weren't even worth 1,000 renminbi. Xiaofan's mother beamed with joy when she received the money. Adding it all up, she now had a total of 680,000 yuan. It was more than enough to buy a big house. Hence, she started to think about buying a house. Xiaobo, can you talk to Lin Yi and show us the house? Xiaofan's mother whispered to Kang Xiaobo. She had already treated Kang Xiaobo as her son-in-law. I heard that he knows a developer, so he can get a discount. Then I'll ask. Kang Xiaobo knew that this would trouble Lin Yi, but he couldn't just ignore Xiaofan's mother's request, right? And so, Kang Xiaobo found Lin Yi and told him about Xiaofan's mother's request. Lin Yi agreed without hesitation. He had already promised Tang Yun about this. Lin Yi called Tang Yun's mother and Tang Yun. Tang Yun's mother had just gotten her new house, and it was very fresh. She wanted to check on the progress of the renovation today. Hearing that Lin Yi was going, she was happy to tag along. And if Tang Yun's mother went, Lin Yi would be in an awkward situation. It wasn't that Lin Yi hated Tang Yun's mother, but Tang Yun's mother was too powerful, and Lin Yi wasn't used to it. However, Lin Yi understood her. Tang Yun's father had broken his leg, and Tang Yun's mother had been raising a family for so many years. In her heart, money was the most important thing. It was unrealistic to change her, and Lin Yi didn't want to change her. The person Lin Yi liked was Tang Yun, not Tang Yun's mother. Tang Yun's mother liked money, so he gave her some money. To Lin Yi, it was just a drop in the bucket. Minyao's Audi S5 obviously couldn't accommodate so many people. Lin Yi asked Fatty Lai to send a car to pick up Tang Yun and Tang Yun, but he didn't expect Fatty Lai to personally pick up Tang Yun and Tang Yun. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. This Fatty Lai was too attentive, and it was hard to guarantee that Tang Yun's mother wouldn't see through it. Tang Yun's mother was a little restrained when she saw her boss, Fatty Lai. On the other hand, Kang Xiaobo and Tang Yun had seen Fatty Lai before, and they also saw him crying at Lin Yi's feet, so they didn't have any respect for him. "What kind of house do you want?" Fatty Lai greeted Kang Xiaobo and Tang Yun passionately, and then asked Tang Yun's mother. I'm just wondering if there's a cheaper one. It's fine if the location isn't good," Xiaofen's mother said cautiously. She originally thought that she would have to use all sorts of methods to get a cheap house, but she didn't expect the person who came to receive her to be so generous. Do you have one?" Fatty Lai turned his head and looked at Lin Yi. Lin Yi was so angry that he almost kicked Fatty Lai. "Do you have one? Why are you looking at me? Ugh! Can I have this one?" Lin Yi didn't say it clearly before, so Fatty Lai wasn't sure if Lin Yi wanted to help Tang Yun's mother. From Fatty Lai's point of view, a house was small, but it would be bad if Lin Yi was unhappy. Fatty Lai knew that Lin Yi wasn't a person who liked to help others, so when he cried and begged Lin Yi didn't help him at all. If he didn't have perseverance, how could he become Lin Yi's follower? So, Fatty Lai had to ask for Lin Yi's opinion on the house for Tang Yun's mother. Tang Yun's mother was stunned by Fatty Lai. "Huh! Mr. Lai, do you have one or not?" "I think so." Tang Yun couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh at Fatty Lai's angry face. "Yes, of course I do." Fatty Lai saw that Tang Yun said there was one, so he must have one. He laughed. "I'm just wondering if there is one or not. I have too many things to do today, so I can't remember clearly." "That's great." Tang Yun's mother was very happy when she heard that there was a special price house. She quickly asked, "Where is it? Can you bring me there?" "Sure, let's go, we'll go now." Fatty Lai nodded. You're tuning into the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.